your mic?
Well, maybe.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to the regular council meeting on February 23rd, 2026. We respectfully recognize, acknowledge the unceded ancestral land of Kalihi Tane, on whose land this meeting is taking place. And today we have a few absence. Absence is for personal good reasons. And but before I officially start the meeting, adopt the agenda, I will ask the council to, it's okay that we give a minute of a silence in recognition of our friends, our brothers and sisters, a town that we know well, Tumble Ridge, the tragedies they had. It's so hard to speak on. I just wanted to see if everybody would like to stand up for a minute of silence in the recognition of the tragedy has occurred. The agenda is in front of us, and I would like to make sure that we, due to the presentation, we would like to deal with the E4 and E5 right after C2. So there's a continuity in terms of the flow of the meeting. I need a mover seconder to adopt the amended agenda. Second by Councilor Bennett. All in favor of the amended agenda? Opposed? Opposed online? Carried. Minutes.
Your Worship, there is also a late item that we asked to be.
E4 and E5 right after C2.
Yet, I think there's a late item on E12 as well.
E12 as well, that's right.
It's a report from yourself, and it's support for a public safety petition.
Thank you, yeah.
Move the addition of E12.
Second by Councilor Rosell. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. E12 added. Thank you. Minutes. Adoption of the regular council meeting minutes, January 26 and January 28, 2026. Move by Councilor Polillo. Second by Councilor Klassen. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And adoption of the regular council meeting minutes, February 2nd, 2026.
Moved again.
Move again by Councilor Polillo, second by Councilor Klassen. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have two delegation tonight. First one, we have UMBC JDC West, one of the most success story of our university. Welcome. The floor is yours, Miss. Let me just put my glass on. It's Nicholas, right?
Unfortunately, he was not able to make it. He's not.
Oh,
here.
Nicholas is not going to be here?
Yeah.
As Ansho. So you're the co-captain, right?
Yes.
Yes, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Awesome.
Charles? Charles?
Yeah,
You're on, Susan.
Charles, I saw that Charles was with you.
Muted.
She's muted? Oh, This is the most interesting moment of my. Just threw me off a little bit. Anyway, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here. For those of you in the audience who are wondering what JC West is, JC West is the largest business solving case competition in Western Canada. UNBC is one of the 12 schools that actually gets to participate in this competition. It's an opportunity for a lot of business students not only develop their case solving and case analysis skills, but also grow as leaders. And with that, I'm Arianshu. I'm UNBC JC West's past co-captain. I just passed my captaincy to the new ones. And I just wanted to give a bit of an overview on what's happening this year and what we have accomplished in the past 20 years. So firstly, this year, we've managed to raise $56,842 for our charity partner here at Spirit North Healthcare Foundation. With that, we've also supported them in 495 hours of volunteering. This represents great success, not only the ability of students to come out of their communities and support the community, as well as healthcare initiatives in the North with Spirit North Healthcare Foundation. Now, coming to the successes we've had this year. This year, competition was hosted in the University of Saskatchewan, and we managed to find second place in monetary donations, second highest in all 12 schools that have competed, and a first place podium in business technology. This is a discipline, an academic discipline that shows that there is talent in the North and that has the capacity to go out there and compete against the best schools. One of the biggest things that you'll see later on in my presentation is that the disparity between UNBC as well as the other institutions that participate in this competition is immense. And showing success at this stage not only proves the talent that the North has, but the abilities that we possess. With that, I want to thank our incredible charity partner, Spirit North Healthcare Foundation, for not only supporting us throughout this year, but also helping us find success in supporting local initiatives in the North. It's kind of funny. Business students kind of get the bad rap of, they don't really care about the community, they just care about money. This is to show that, no, we do care about our communities. We do want everybody to find success in our communities. I also want to give a massive thank you to our amazing coaches. These are individuals who volunteer their time, who are past either alumni of our programs or connected to our programs because they've been long-serving mentors. They come out and help us and train our delegates in not only growing as professionals, but also as training that's required for their academic disciplines. I also want to thank our Faculty of Business and Economics at the university for consistently providing us the support, mentorship, as well as advocacy that we need at the university to go out there and succeed. Of course, it won't be possible without our brilliant faculty advisor, Michael Dakin. He has been a new addition to our program, and he has absolutely helped us in every single stage, not only advocating for our success, but also for making sure that we have the support that we need. With that out of the way, it's been 20 years since UNBC JC West has been in operation. What has happened? What has happened in this past? So, as you can see, our alumni are able to, because of the success that they've found in this competition, they've managed to find themselves in plenty of large-scale as well as local organizations, and they've supported them in multiple roles. As you can see, these are not only local institutions, but also organizations that are publicly listed and are making huge waves across the board. With regard to charity, we've raised over $1 million for healthcare in the North in partnership with Spirit North Healthcare Foundation. Over 12,000 hours volunteered over the past 20 years. This represents student leadership on every single stage in giving, and it shows that the North has that willingness to give. And it is very important for us to have this. And it's a moment of pride for us because it shows that we as a community are not only capable of providing success to our students, but also ensuring that we can care for our community along the way. We have had 59 podiums across the 20 years. Now, this is a huge number, and I'll show you why it's important, because the next slide will show truly how incredible our program is. As you can see here, UNBC ranks 253 students currently in terms of business undergraduates. That's the student population that we can pull from to compete in this competition. The next biggest is obviously around 1,000. And if you look across the board, that's UBC's population is 3,900. UNBC student population, again, in total, is comprised of only 1% of all of the student populations across the board. And this is an incredibly tiny delegation that can come out from this. And we're still able to find success in these following ways. As you can see, despite UNBC ranking 8th in the total number of trophies that we've won the past 20 years, we've still managed to achieve 30% of trophies that UBC has managed to achieve with just 6.47% of UBC student population. This represents an immense gap in not only what UNBC has been able to do, but what the ability of the North is. The ability of the North to come up with students that can actually go out there, present ideas, solve cases, and present at the highest levels without having to worry about constraints and, thinking that, maybe having a higher student population is important, yes, but it's also very important for us to have students that are not only capable of understanding real-world problems that companies as well as organizations are facing and finding the skills that they need to go out there and solve them. With that, I'd also like to talk about the difference in scale of how much schools receive as well as how much they're able to spend on their delegations. As you can see, again, there's a massive disparity on how much these students are able to, how much student organizations are able to receive as part of their delegations. As you can see, UBC, over $125,000 are given to their delegations, as well as SFU and UFR. All of these institutions are large, so of course they can afford to spend more on these delegations and give them the ability to go out there and compete. We are unfortunately, again, they're tiniest, but we still manage to succeed. And that, again, consistently shows that it is not that we're not able to succeed because we don't have a large student populations. We don't have student budgets that can exceed over $100,000 or even touch that mark. But we're able to go out there and compete with all of these institutions. You might be asking again, how, Arianshu, how can the UNBC School of Business do all of this? Well, as an added note, I want to talk again about coaching and mentorship. This comes from over 25 people that participate as part of our coaching for the past 20 years. They commit 2 hours every week to make sure that our students are able to find the success they need, that they have the skills they need to go out there and succeed. These are incredible individuals who have not only come out of this program, but have some degree of attachment to not only teaching at the university or having been previously part of the UNBC JCUS delegations. And it consistently shows up because the smile on their faces when they find out that their teams have succeeded, finding a podium or perhaps doing incredibly well is important for us. It's very important for us to also acknowledge that the support that they've given us does not go unnoticed. The next answer is Northern Spirit. This is something that, faculty advisors across the West, they have gone bald figuring out how it's possible. The only reason we can go out there and succeed is because we know that the North has a spirit of giving. It has the ability to say, yes, it is important for us to go out there, support our youth. It is important for us to impart skills that they need to go out there and succeed. And it is important for us to support these individuals who are going to be the future of Northern BC, who are going to be the future leaders of Northern BC. It is necessary for us to go out there and back them. And with that, I want to thank you for your time. And I would like to open the floor to any questions you might have.
Thank you so very much. This is one of the greatest success story of our area. Success really means consistency. Winning once, winning twice is one thing, but consistently beat out other university with 10, 20 our size. It's an incredible achievement. I'm just so glad that this program is continuing on to put Prince George on the map. We have many of the students who've been through this program that employed throughout the industry in Northern BC, as well as everywhere around Canada. So I just want to, first of all, say congratulations. And I'm just grateful that Prince George, we are one of the founding partners, and we will continue to be the partner of this great program of UNBC. With that, I will open the floor to the councilors. Councilor Polillo.
Thanks, Your Worship. Totally 100% echo your comments. In my former professional life, I know the Pattison Media was very involved in sponsorship, and I had a long association with JDC West. And in fact, I remember maybe 10 years ago when UNBC actually hosted the competition here, and I actually reffed the soccer competition, and I was so impressed by these impressive young females and males that were fierce competitors on the soccer field, but so polite, so respectful, so professional. It really impacted on me, and that was, I think, 10 years ago. So congratulations. It's funny, when you're doing your presentation, the words that came to me were small and mighty, really, just incredibly small, or mighty, just with the resources and what you guys do. So congratulations. Is there plans again to host another JDC West competition in Prince George?
Well, I think that's a question might be for our dean. I unfortunately cannot answer that question. But I hope so in the future.
Well, thank you, and keep up the amazing work, and thank you for the contributions over the last 20 years and for many, many years to come as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Klassen?
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you so much for that presentation. And I mean, I'm busting buttons here. This is just so amazing. You know, you've got such a small population against such giant schools, giant budgets, and you've got a little tiny one, and I think you captured it beautifully and just calling it the Northern Spirit. And I'm just thinking, as like for businesses that are opening up or expanding, or the whole mining industry coming here, I mean, you guys are the people to hire, I would think. Like the participants in your program, do you have an idea about how many, because I know you spoke about, you had one slide there showing all the different businesses that your graduates or your participants are involved in. Do you have any idea how many of them stay in the north?
It's a tough question to answer because the vast majority of them, for example, I can tell you based on looking at it. So the ones who work for Navicard, Scotiabank, UNBC, MNP, KPMG, they usually stay in Prince George after because they have local offices here that they can work for. Obviously, for some certain other organizations, such as you can see, the government of Alberta, that they have to move, as well as NVIDIA. I believe this individual who works there is now living in California because that's the requirement of the work. But yeah, most of them do stay in the north.
Okay. Well, that's really good news. I was just thinking that, I mean, we should maybe profile you on our ECDev program, because this is truly just the fact that we're hitting the ball out of the park in terms of your performance. That's a real feather in our cap as a city and for potential employers thinking of moving here. So yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the coaches as well that spend that time. That you said 24 coaches?
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. And just thank you very much for your contribution to our city.
Thank you. Talk about coaches. I just want to give a little shout out to one of the great coach, the Charles Scott, just happened to be husband of one of our counselors. And I know he is a very integral part of this program. So congrats to you and, to the entire coach team as well. Thank you. Councilor Fazil.
Thank you, Mayor Yu and Arianshu. Well done. Congratulations. Please pass that on to your co-captain, Nicholas, as well. But I think through the amount of work that you have to do as a student, and then the anxiety of also raising money to keep yourself alive at the same time, on top of that, you're putting all of those hours in, not just for the competition, but for the management and the team building of that competition. That's an immense amount of work that you put in personally on top of everything else. Plus, connecting up with the sponsors and connecting up with the mentors and probably the university administration. On top of it, taking a night off to come to council to tell us all about it. Much appreciated. And thank you for bringing along your faculty advisor. I see Michael Dakins in the audience here tonight as well. Just wanted to reflect on at the opening of the Prince George campus, the first chancellor of UNBC said, "Now is the time for the northern people to rise." And I think what your presentation, it wasn't about you, it wasn't even just about UNBC, it was about all of us. I really appreciated the angle that you've taken on that. Looking forward to what the next steps are going to be, but I'll also, I don't want to close too quickly because I want to also give some recognition to 20 years bringing in $1 million for Spirit of the North. That is immense, an average of $50,000 every year that you are raising and giving back to the community. That's outstanding. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. And we'll echo, I think, the points made by my colleagues. I think looking at the slides, as part of I think it was slides 12, 13, and 14, which are the graphs you show, and the fact that, we're about 20% of the next biggest in terms of business students, but, holding our weight and then some when it comes to the success of the program. So, I think that's just a huge kudos to the coaches, to the students, to the university for its work in preparing for competition. But also I think the number that really stood out to me was on slide 14, where you show the breakdown of the number of sponsors who make this happen each and every year for our students. So just for anyone who happens to be listening who may want to get involved as a sponsor, what is the best way for a business to get involved and sponsor the competition?
So with regards to sponsorship, there are two ways you can get involved. One way, obviously, is to reach out to our faculty advisor, Michael Dakin. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to connect the university with sponsors. In addition, if they want to sponsor the direct competition, JDC West, they can also do so. But if there's any businesses in the north that would like to support northern students, I'd be more than happy to have them connected to Michael Dakin, of course.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And I know that it's, as Councillor Frizzell said, it's a busy time for you and all students. So just thank you for all you do for our community through JDC.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please convey our congratulations and a sincere thank you to all the sponsors. Without them, any program is not going to reach such a height. And continue the great work. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Your Worship, Councillor Scott is in the queue.
I can see.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Scott can still speak. You just won't be able to see her while the presentation's up.
Okay. Is a Councillor Scott wants to? Yeah, please, go ahead. The floor is yours, Councillor Scott. It's not working?
Looking at Ms. Kellett. Ms. Kellett? Okay. Councillor Scott, can you hear us?
I'm sorry. Partway into the beginning of this meeting, my laptop camera went, nope, I'm not doing this. So I've switched to my iPad, and thank you all. I apologize for the confusion at my end. I am so delighted by the ongoing performance of JDC. As Mary Yu has mentioned, I know somebody personally that has been a mentor and is quite involved. And I think of many, many people that I've known that have contributed as coaches to this program. And the one that's first and foremost in my mind, aside from Michael, because he's sitting right there, is Judy Nizer. What a difference and what a connection to Spirit of the North. I am absolutely delighted that UNBC continues to punch above its weight, but our whole community and indeed our university can do more for JDC. So let's get behind this. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. And yeah, as you can see, the city, along with all the sponsors, are right behind you. So let's work together and achieve even greater success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have another great story. Why can't every council meeting like this, eh? Another great presentation from Spruce City Men's Fastball Association. And Harley, as well as, I think, Robin. Yeah, please. And Jessica's here, and Jared as well. The floor is yours. Start whenever you wish. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to begin by thanking City Council for the opportunity to stand in front of you today and present the initiative that we're taking in hosting the Canadian Native Fastball Championships this August. Usually we find out in October or September whether we are the successful bid. This year we found out in January and December or something like that, and we're on scramble mode right now, but we're really proud to bring this to the city and to the people here that live here, to our people living in Prince George, and to the Aboriginal community in particular. We have hosted this event several times. The first time we came in front of you was in 2016. We ran a very successful event, and we also ran one in 2022, and hopefully we run another successful one. There are challenges this time around. As most of the people around the table can appreciate, the costs have risen exponentially for just about everything that we're doing in doing this kind of event. Nonetheless, we're going to overcome some of the challenges that we might have over the last 10 years, and we'll be working hard to kind of make sure that whatever we do works out for the best. Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce our co-chair, Robbie Antoine. He's also the president of the Spruce City Men's Fastball Association. Do you have any words?
No, I just want to thank your worship as well as members of council for giving us this opportunity to host such a vast event that is a national size with international talent coming to the northern Prince George region, which is almost unheard of, right?
Yeah.
But no, we're just very excited about this, and we've already kind of hit the ground running, and now it's just taking the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. So we got a clock running, so I'll try to speak in shorthand. The Spruce City Men's Fastball Association, alongside the Prince George River Kings Fastball Club, represents a proud and deeply rooted fastball tradition in Prince George, built on excellence, partnership, and community legacy. We are the Canadian National Fastball Champions in 2023, just recently. The PG River Kings have established one of the most celebrated legacies in Indigenous sports. Originating as the Lumber Kings in 1992, we've been both the Canadian North American champions in 1993 starting, and ultimately securing 8 Canadian Native Championship titles and 6 North American championships. The River Kings have played a vital leadership role by fostering partnerships across the Indigenous communities, hosting youth clinics throughout Western Canada, and supporting the growth of fastball programs, tournaments, and sporting events. Some of our athletes have represented Prince George at the World and Canadian Championships on numerous occasions. We've had some of our team members actually be part of Team Canada. This is a huge event. We're expecting 50 to 80 teams coming to Prince George, an estimated 1,200 athletes, plus extended families and friends for approximately 2,500 people. This is our third time hosting this event in 10 years. The event is also a cultural gathering. It's not just a ball tournament or anything like that. We have a lot of people coming from all over Western Canada, Eastern Canada as well, and Prince George has become a real marshalling point for a lot of our Indigenous community to come in and visit and see family and kind of patronize a lot of the local businesses and everything like that. So it's a real wonderful event. It's not about the ball. The ball, like, we're really serious about the ball. Don't take that wrong, but we're also serious about bringing our communities together and bringing our people together in a very healthy kind of environment. One of the reasons we've been successful is because we've had the help of Prince George. We've had the help of the community. We've had the help of City Council. One of the things that we do have access to is top quality facilities. The Freeman Park, Chuck Caudell Park, the Women's Parks, as well as the Rotary Field, the Men's Citizens Field, the Minor Girls Field, the Minor Boys Field, Ron Wiley Park, and the Spruce City Park. When we're talking about 80 teams over a three-day period, you really need the facilities. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to host an event of this caliber is because we do have the facilities in Prince George, and we do have the cooperation with Parks and Rec and making sure that we have good upkeep for these so that we could present things in kind of a national caliber setting. We do have excellent facilities, and Prince George has a real good reputation in that regard. Another reason they want to come here is because of the cost of having a tournament in Prince George. The hotel cost, say Prince George as opposed to Vancouver in the summertime in August is, out of this world, and the gas cost, everything is a lot more affordable. So that's really worked out to our benefit. We have experienced event staff. Myself as a co-chair, Robbie is also a co-chair. We have Chad Ghostkeeper, Keith Henry, and we have a real diverse group of talent from a lot of the people are part of the Aboriginal community, but there's also a lot of people involved in different sectors that are important to run this event, such as the corporate fundraising and proposal writing, maybe accessing grant, and just going out there and being ambassadors to the city and to the community. The tourism impact, the STEEP report that came out in 2026 indicated that our event brings in $4.5 to $5 million each event. It's a lot of money, and we're really proud of that. To be able to leave that kind of economic footprint in the community at a time when a lot of community and businesses are struggling. The impact that it makes on the hotels, the merchants, the restaurants is quite different. You look at an event, let's say like the Canada Games, they brought the same amount of money in, but one thing where we differ is that we don't have things like dormitories. We don't have those kind of things. Our fans are eating in restaurants and they're patronizing a lot of the local businesses. So that's a really big win for the community. We've, Tourism Prince George, we wouldn't be able to do this without them. They've been involved with us since the inception, actually since 2016 with every bid, and helping facilitate a lot of the partnerships that we do have in the community with a lot of the hotels and a lot of the businesses, and getting feedback from them and just ensuring that we are leaving a good footprint here in the community when we have our event. We do also have the support of a lot of the surrounding First Nations in Prince George. This isn't just an event that's important to Prince George, but it is with a lot of the surrounding Aboriginal communities. We've had partnerships with the Lhetley Tene, Takla, Binche Watan, Stalaco, Nikosley, St. Coos, Burns Lake Native Development Corporation, Tourism Prince George, City of Prince George, Northern BC Tourism Association, Treasure Cove Hotel and Casino. So we've had a real diverse collection of partners in helping to ensure that we have a good event. Hosting the Canadian Fastball Championships in Prince George will create a lasting legacy beyond the final pitch. The event will strengthen the regional's fastball tradition while building capacity in coaching, volunteerism, and event hosting, ensuring the community remains with positions for future competitions. We're not just looking at having an event here. We want to be able to put in bids for national events, not just Native events, but national senior A events, national women's events, national juniors events, and hopefully international. And I will say the centerpiece of everything that we do is the Spruce City Spruce City Stadium, and it's has a lot of significance with a lot of the Native community here in Prince George. We don't just have ball tournaments there. We have had lots of people do other things there, such as weddings. Robbie was actually married in there.
Sorry, just one second. Move to extend the time.
Yes. No worries. Continue.
Thanks.
Okay. When people have passed on, we have said our goodbyes in there. We've had cultural events there too, so it means a lot to us. From a tourism and economic perspective, the event will showcase Prince George as a premier host for major sporting events. Visiting athletes, families, and fans will support local businesses. So we're just happy beyond words to be able to come into the community and be able to share this kind of event, an event of this nature. You know, one word that gets thrown around a lot is reconciliation. And for us, our relationship with Prince George, I think it really demonstrates that. You guys have been really good partners, and you guys have helped our community. And when we go out and represent Prince George, we do get a lot of feedback about the city and your guys' help with us. So I just want to, in closing, just say we appreciate it very much. If you have any questions, I'll be
Thank you.
happy to answer.
Thank you. I first of all, since we're dealing with the letters, can I get a motion from the council that direct the mayor's office to write a letter of support for this organization to apply for the Canadian? Moved by Councilor Bennett, second by Councilor Judy. So we have a motion on the floor for the letter of support, okay? First of all, I just want to say thank you. Just want to thank you. I have had the privilege to attend the opening ceremony of one of the Native Fastball tournament a couple of years ago. It's very impressive. You know, first of all, I want to thank all the volunteers to organize 1,200 athletes, you know, with their families, and it is not a small task. A local transportation and you know, the foods and the activities, and so I just want to say a great thank you to the volunteer. And I think this event in the summer, it probably is one of the marquee events for Prince George area in terms of attracting so many people visiting our town to watch the game, and the tourism impact, as you said, it cannot be understated. So with that, I just wanted to ask, is there any specific issue that you're facing, for example, local transportation, security, camping area? Is there any specific issue that you feel that we as a city, that we can work with you? I see our park department, Robin's here to supporting this is your bid. And is there any specific item that you think we as a city council need to be made aware of right away?
Well, there's nothing in particular I could think of offhand, but I'm sure there will be some things that'll come up. Fortunately, we have a good relationship with Parks and Rec and some of our other partners around Tourism Prince George, for example. And the history has been if we run into challenges, we've always been able to work with them collaboratively to overcome them. So I'm sure things will come up, but we're not too worried about them at this point, just based on our history working with like the city.
Thank you. Please keep the communication line open, and please work with Tourism PG and make sure, that we have the rooms, if building is necessary, because we're talking about really 2,500 people, a lot of people. And so we want to make sure that, there's adequate accommodation and then all the logistic, that if anything we can do to help, please let us know. With that, I'm going to open the floor. Councilor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. And thanks for the presentation and the commitment in bringing this forward year after year on top of everything else that you do. That's amazing. Because it's not just that it's getting more sophisticated and bigger and more expensive and all of that. It's good baseball. Yeah. It's enjoyable to watch. And you come, of course, on a night when the Blue Jays haven't lost a single game in the entire season. They've only played one, but still. It's exciting to have baseball here. It's exciting that you're bringing it back again. And bravo, well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're looking forward to hear from you guys soon, to see your success in getting the game. And with that, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor for the mayor to write a letter of support? All in favor? Opposed? Opposed online? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Want to go to my good side?
Yeah.
No, I don't have good side.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, we start out of the presentation out of the way. We promised we'd be dealing with the E4, I believe. That's 2026 Canadian Native Fastball Championships. And Mr. Beasley, how your department's going to help to coordinate this one?
Thank you, Your Worship. To present this report, I'd like to introduce Lindsay Timmermans. Lindsay is one of our unsung heroes in this city. She's part of the amazing events team under Debbie Haywood and Robin McConkey. They put on everything that happens in Prince George and are very happy to support this. Lindsay in particular has had her hand in a huge amount of our major sporting activities, including, as one example, the highly amazing bid to put on the 2030 Special Olympic Canada Games. So I'll have Lindsay present this report, and she'll be happy to answer questions after.
Thank you. Lindsay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on Council supporting the 2026 Native Fastball Championships. Administration recommends funding in the amount of $60,000 in kind to cover City of Prince George rental fees and required field rebuilds, and $118,000 cash for event services costs, umpire fees, and fencing required to modify fields to meet tournament standards, and that these funds come from the Major Events Reserve, which currently has an uncommitted balance of $625,000. This event qualifies for funding as outlined in the city's major sport event program. It is expected to bring over 2,000 competitors and spectators to the city and have an economic impact of up to $5 million. Hotels will be filled, restaurants will be busier than usual, and many local businesses will be used to support this tournament. The organizing committee for this event is very experienced, having successfully hosted this tournament twice in the past, with financial support from the City of Prince George. City staff have worked closely with organizers to review the budget, gather quotes, and discuss field upgrades required to ensure this tournament is a success. This event will impact the community in a very positive way. bringing visitors from across Canada to the city, and will give residents an opportunity to participate and cheer on competitors in a national level sporting event. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Councilor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu, and thank you, Ms. Timmermans. You answered my first question I was going to ask about the uncommitted balance still left in the reserve. Really positive to hear, and you've also got the STEAM report already in advance on what the economic impact is going to be to the city. It's a pretty compelling argument to make. Wondering about the dates. I've been looking around for what the dates are going to be for the tournament this year so that I can plan not to try to book a hotel at that point.
So the dates of the tournament will be July 30th to August 2nd,
July
2026.
To August. Excellent. Thank you very much. This, yeah, as I say, it's compelling. The return on investment is solid, and you've got a great breakdown of the in-kind versus the cash donation to the championship. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. You would like to make a move?
Second.
Second by Councilor Polillo. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor as per recommendation. Any amendment, change required? If not, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Done. E5.
Your worship, we'll leave it with Ms. Timmermans to present this report too.
Thank you again. Now I will be presenting a review of sport events that were hosted in our city in 2025 and how the city of Prince George was able to support them. The city currently has a 10-year sport tourism strategy, and two main themes of the strategy are funding, support, and partnerships. One funding stream is the Sport PG Hosting Grant, which is used to support small to mid-size events. Each year, $75,000 from the Major Events Reserve is allocated to this grant. In 2025, the Sport PG Hosting Grant supported 17 events put on by local nonprofit sport organizations such as Prince George Ringette, the Third Avenue Bowlers, and the Prince George Blizzard Speed Skating Club. Funds from the Major Events Reserve were also used to host a very successful 2025 Special Olympics BC Summer Games, as well as a site tour for representatives from Special Olympics Canada in hopes of winning a bid to host the 2030 Special Olympics Canada Summer Games. The successful community for the 2030 Games will be announced this spring. In 2025, we also continue to strengthen our partnerships with Tourism Prince George, Engage Sport North, and many of our local sport organizations by co-hosting a networking evening where we shared information on ways the city can support local sport organizations and how we work alongside Tourism Prince George and Engage Sport North to enhance local sporting events and support the organizations that put them on. 2026 is looking to be another exciting year for sport events in our community. Along with the Canadian Native Fastball Championships, the Prince George Rod and Gun Club will be hosting a national competition. And also through the Sport PG Hosting Grant, we have already supported a regional figure skating championship and a BC stick curling championship. Next month, I will be attending the Sports Event Congress with a colleague from Tourism Prince George. During this conference, we will meet with national sport organizations to discuss their upcoming events and opportunities which may be a good fit for our community. In 2026, we will also be working with Tourism Prince George to review and update our 10-year sport hosting strategy. This will help us see what's working well and how we can continue to strengthen our partnerships to further support organizations and their events in our community. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Councilor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you for the presentation. I think, you know, we've been very fortunate, and I think I've shown time and time again our community's ability to host these major sporting events. And, you know, again, I think if we look at what we're able to do both on, I think about even the regional, provincial level and then the national level. My question is, I see, so in the last presentation, we heard about kind of the balance of the special events reserve. I'm looking at this paper and see that we have a commitment of 500,000 if we end up getting the games, the 2030 Special Olympics. Is that 500,000 already taken into consideration when you talk about the 600,000 left? Or will that bring our reserve down to around 100,000?
The 500 is already taken into account. So after that, we still have 625.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Klassen?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much for all the work that you do in the bringing all these events forward. I have a question for staff, which is not quite sports related, but it is sort of connected because I'm not sure how many people know that there are these grants available to our sporting community. And so my question, though, for staff is, do we have, I know that this is a sport review, but do we have similar funding for arts, events, festivals, that kind of thing? And I guess that would be through to Mr. Beasley.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Klassen. The Major Events Reserve Fund doesn't specify sports necessarily, so it can also be used for other types of major events. Interestingly enough, that's something we've just had very recent conversations about, making sure that we're open to that. It's the big sporting events that tend to get the most attention because they're sort of well organized and so on. But one of our goals is to proactively look at more and more activations in downtown Prince George as well as throughout Prince George, and looking at that fund potentially to help fund some of that. So the short answer to your question is yes, that fund is also available. And then there's also, through the MyPG grants, quite a few other grant streams that are available for arts and culture as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Polillo.
Thanks, Your Worship. For me, a guy who's, well, no secret, big sports guy and involved in the sports community here in Prince George for many years, this is fantastic news to see how the work and this fund has influenced these events to come to our city and future events to come to our city as well too. The one thing I want to point out, and I think it was illustrated in the presentation that we had on the Canadian Native Fastball Championship, is how fortunate and lucky we are to have the facilities that we have.
That's right.
And I know firsthand in the soccer community and the events that we've hosted when we have people from the Lower Mainland, BC, and across Western Canada, when they come and they see the facilities alone that we have for soccer, they're just blown away. It's very rare to have facilities like that all concentrated in one area like that. And I think that's something that all of us in Prince George can be very proud of, is the amazing facilities that we have for all sports. So I just wanted to bring forth that point. So, and thank you for your work, and I look forward to hearing more exciting events, sports, and non-sports coming to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say the previous councils, few councils before us, I remember Shirley, right, on the council. She is worked so diligently on softball and baseball on behalf of the community, and has surely established a well-deserved culture that we know as a fastball, baseball town. And so now these hard work starting paying off. And I just wonder if she's watching, thank you. Thank you so very much. I need a motion to get the recommendation through. Move to receipt. Second by Councilor Polillo. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
We back to our regular agenda of D, consent agenda. D1 is a monthly report, mayor's report for the information. Councilor Bennett, you got a question?
Can I pull D4, please?
You move?
No, I was just looking to pull D4 from the consent
Okay,
agenda.
D4, okay. D4 and D7. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just due to administration, I know that there are a few items that were approved kind of late in the year with regards to contingency. In particular, the Citizen Recognition Program and the Senior Center Collaboration Session. While I recognize anything that is remaining would essentially just fall into the end of year surplus for the city, I'm just wondering if it would be possible for council just to get an update if that full amount ends up being spent or if a lesser amount will be recognized for those two. Again, not recognize, like I know that's not going to go back into contingency, more just out of curiosity if those full amounts will be spent.
Sure. Would council like that in an email once those two things have come to conclusion?
Email is fine for me. Thank you.
Sure, yeah.
Great. Councilor Carlson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to, thanks Tim for pulling that one. I was going to ask, where does that surplus go? Like, where do we find it in the budget?
So at the end of 2025, we had 18,000 and change unspent. And so that would just flow to the city's surplus, just like if any division had a surplus in it. As far as these funds, because they won't be likely spent until partially into this year, what we do is we just sort of carry forward those funds, we isolate them and carry them forward, so it won't impact your 2026 contingency.
Okay, so then a bit of a broader question, if I can have latitude. So the surplus, does that end up in reserves? Like where does that go?
So the city has reserves, but they also have what's called an operating surplus, and so it goes to the latter in that case.
Operation surplus.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. D7, Councilor Fazil.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Just wanted to bring forward the building permit statistics and get a sense. I know this is just the first month of the year, so it's hard to draw any conclusions about what the future is going to bring. But by now, mid-February or late February, we're probably also getting a better picture of what the construction season is going to look like. And I know everything could change the moment that the acute care tower breaks ground and those permits start coming in. That's going to really skew things to the best year we've ever had in history. But can you give us a sense of where we're going right now?
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Frizzell, you've noted the January month stats are a bit quieter than the previous 2 years. This is what happens oftentimes through, especially the winter months. We kind of have this fluctuation of types of permits that get submitted in the early months of the year, sometimes to our benefit, other times not. Last year, obviously, you can see there was a number of industrial and multifamily that were issued in January, which helped spur the stats to the higher side of both permit numbers and the totals. I understand from talking to staff that February's been a very strong month so far of issuance. So again, we're still in the month. Council will see these stats this month, next month. And as I think I forecasted at the end of last year, we're anticipating a fairly busy year. Still this 2026 building season, with the indicators being development permits that would have been summarized in your monthly reports last year, showing again across the board through commercial, industrial, and multifamily that all these types of permits are helping contribute to a strong building season.
Thank you. And just on a note, January was quite cold, so learning from experience, don't ask for concrete to be poured then, or your electrical bills for keeping it heated as it dries are going to be ridiculous. Wanted to say thanks on this and changes recently on requirements for reporting. Are we going to see changes in the reporting moving forward? I know that provincial government legislation changes from time to time. Have there been any recent impacts that'll change what we need to report back on housing, on targets, on anything?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Frizzell, as far as I'm aware, we will still have to be accountable for the housing target order, which is counting the units that are provided or issued occupancy in that calendar year. Our calendar year runs from August 1st to August 1st, so I'll have something to council later in this year to report from August 25 to August 2026 on, and then have a better indication if we've met our housing target order. As far as that, that's all the stats I'm aware that we're supposed to be reporting to the province.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Move, second by Councilor Polillo. I have a question before I call for the vote. The overall trend, it is drop is quite significant compared to last year this time. Having said that, based on the inquiry that we have received, do you think this might impact our ability to meet the provincial housing target this year, based on the percentage, right?
Your Worship, with respect to the housing target order, I believe this is something I'd like to take away and look closer at. I haven't looked closely to forecast if we're on par for 2026. Again, based on the buildings, multifamily buildings being constructed prior to our order being issued to the city. I know we were good for 2025, what we reported on last year. I still believe we're on target for 2026, but that is something I'd have to look into and let council know. Happy to do that through an email, just as a follow-up to this.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to call the question to receive 1 to D7 to fine. All in favor, receive. You want to put D5? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. On D5, just had a quick question. D5 shows us procurement costs on software like the Tempest software and renewals on that. These are large numbers, but these are also critical systems. During the budget, you talked about if we didn't renew or we tried to cut corners on software, that it would ultimately cost us more in the end. Is this an example with the Tempest software of items that we need for our enterprise?
Sure. During budget, I kind of broke it out into 3 tiers. One was the first tier I talked about was the expensive ones, and they are the absolute critical core softwares that we use. Without them, we literally cease to function. Tempest is one of those.
Okay. Thank you. That's the one that flagged my attention. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All in favor, receive. Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. E1, committee recommendation to study Cobourg bylaw of Ontario. This is a recommendation that we as a Public Safety Committee have made to bring this forward to the attention of the council. I perhaps ask Councillor Klassen. She, as you initiated this report, would you like to give a little bit background, and then Mr. Dabinoff perhaps can add to it afterwards? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Gosh, when was that? A year ago, 2 years ago, when I went to the Crime Severity Index. No, not that one. The Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse and Addictions Small Cities and Towns Initiative.
Saskatchewan.
That one was in Lethbridge.
Lethbridge.
There were mayors and members of council from across the country, all dealing with the issue of our shelters being under a lot of strain and just having a large amount of homeless, unhoused people that, and also the open drug use and social disorder that we were seeing. And so among the conversations, the mayor of Cobourg discussed his bylaw that they had recently introduced at the time, and he was quite hopeful about it. And so I wanted us to look at it as a safety committee. And so maybe, and what it is just that ability to, and the truth is I don't know how well it's working yet. And I know it has been a year at least since they've put that bylaw in. And the bylaw is basically, like the part that I'm particularly interested in is section 6 on page 7 of the bylaw, which talks about, the establishments being responsible for areas up to 500 meters or within a 500-meter radius around their buildings. And I think maybe where this could go is if we could refer the study of the Cobourg bylaw with particular attention to Section 6, refer that to staff, and if they could come back with options that they find would be beneficial to us, that council could consider at a later date.
Thank you. Thank you, yeah. The thing is, I would like to, ask our staff to maybe you can comment on this particular section in terms of a legal implication or whether we as a council, we can even, because Ontario's situation is slightly different here. How this from a community charter point of view, can we actually adopt something like that?
Your Worship, I believe Mr. Depineau is prepared to make some comments, and then perhaps Ms. Wozniak as well following. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. While I get started, perhaps we could pull up the Section 6 of the Cobourg bylaw on the screen, if that's possible. So we understand through this bylaw, Cobourg regulates the numbers of shelters in operation at one time and their proximity to one another. The bylaw also establishes license requirements and additional regulatory items, such as the adoption of a code of conduct. And so Ms. Wozniak will be best prepared to speak perhaps to the business licensing and existing zoning and whatnot in those aspects. In terms of the 500-meter radius and pursuing garbage or litter that we might find associated to a particular site, or nuisance behavior from individuals who perhaps were staying at one of these facilities, I am a bit unclear on how we would confirm that linkage back to the particular establishment, but it's something that staff can certainly look into. Cobourg appears to have had this in place for some time, and probably some lessons to be learned should this be directed to staff that we could connect with them on. But those are some opening comments. How do we connect it back to a particular site? And if we do, what are those actions there? There's a fee structure, I do believe, attached to this, but those are questions that I do have. I understand our shelters that are available in town at this time are functioning near occupancy in most cases, and so I don't know that there would initially be a move to limit the number of shelters in operation at this time, but certainly going forward perhaps is where we would see the application.
Okay, so it looks like a 500-meter is kind of like a block, right? A city block in each direction. Is there any place, Councillor Klassen, that we, throughout our research, we have found that other municipality in BC or in other province, aside from this particular municipality, have adopted this particular bylaw?
I was going to say Penticton, but I think theirs was a different one. So it was just, I was hoping that we could get some official information from the city of Cobourg to see how it may be because our shelters are very close together, it may not be even applicable in our city, but if it is, I just wanted to have like a high level look to see, is this something that we could consider?
So we can first receive this as information, and do you think it's going to take a lot of staff hours to perhaps ask for a small report back in terms of, because this will impact us quite a bit?
Thank you, Your Worship. Perhaps my opening comment would be, I suspect this would be interdepartmental based on it having bylaw enforcement as well as business licensing and other components. It is not currently in the departmental work plans, certainly in my case. And so I do see this as a significant undertaking. That being said, happy to follow the direction of council. It's something that certainly could be looked into.
Yeah, without the time restraint, maybe we can kind of, do a bit of a ask around kind of thing, just say, is there anybody, because our downtown is so small, relatively speaking, in terms of, and we're concentrated with a lot of services. So this bylaw, it might trigger a debate, if nothing else. Where should we do what? Maybe help the planning department as well in terms of use the bylaw to get our zoning, perhaps, instead of just a blanket, it's C1 zoning, we will say based on the, 500-meter rule, that certain activity shouldn't happening, this sort of thing. Is it going to be a big study? Ms. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a quick question because I wasn't part of the workshop or conference you were at, Councillor Klassen, nor the committee's meeting. So from a planning department perspective, I'm just curious from council to learn what specifically, as part of the Cobourg bylaw, you would like staff to go away and consider and report back on. Is it the distance? Because right now under zoning, shelters are permitted and they need a business license. So from bylaw perspective, both of those facets are covered. However, I'm just trying to understand, is there an issue with how close the proximity of shelters? Is council looking to set distances between them? I'm just not sure what research and understanding will be part of this interdepartmental review, what research staff are to conduct to satisfy council's questions.
Well, what I'm thinking is our staff, whether it's Eric's department, your department, make a few phone calls to this particular community to ask them how this bylaw has impacted their operation and what worked and what didn't work. And perhaps take a trip there to witness some of the operations if necessary. That's what I'm thinking to start and ask them to see if any other municipality, whether it's Ontario or BC or elsewhere, have to adopt a similar bylaw, maybe with a different distance than 500 meters, and just a quick research. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, sorry, Your Worship, one more question, not trying to be difficult, just trying to understand. What is the problem or topic we're trying to address through this research? I get that we can ask communities about bylaws, but what specifically, obviously Cobourg has this bylaw in response to an issue or problem. What is it the City of Prince George is trying to look at addressing?
We basically try to learn a little bit more in detail this particular section of their bylaw, how they're implementing it from planning point of view and restrict a certain activity happening in certain neighborhood. Basically, that's what it is. Basically, that's what I see, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and just section 6.
Under section 6, actually, section C, section 6C. And this is yeah, it just is a baggage. I'm not sure if we can adopt it based on our community charter.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just listening to the discussion and perhaps direction from council for staff to, as you say, contact Cobourg and inquire about their experience with section 6.1C.
Yeah.
And report back to council on that. May be an initial task that isn't overly intensive for staff and wouldn't disrupt the current work plan too dramatically. And then we could have council consider that and decide whether further work is warranted, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Yes, that's all I was asking for. Like I wasn't looking or hoping for a full-on review. Just if a call could be made so that we'd have some official information about how well. I mean, and maybe just to ask particularly section 6 and a special attention to number C. How well that's worked. Yes. So I'll move that if I could have a second.
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have move a second to receive information first? I have that, right? Moves, second by Councilor Frizzell. All in favor, receive as information? Oppose? Oppose line, carry. Now, we have a second motion that requesting the staff that contact Cobourg Municipality regarding section 6 of their, what's their bylaw name number?
Bylaw number 018-2024.
Yeah, their bylaw 018-2024. And to basically, and then report back to council what worked and what seems, their experience of this implementation of this section of the bylaw. Do I have a seconder? Okay.
Councillor Scott has seconded.
Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Oh, sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, question. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. I'm also, I guess, and I was trying to find the bylaw number. I guess if staff is making this call, I guess I'd propose an amendment that we also include their good neighbor bylaw.
In reference.
That's what I'm just trying to get a bylaw number here. Well, they reference, so the rationale is they reference the good neighbor bylaw in this document here. I worry a little bit about the unintended consequences of what is perhaps being suggested in section 6 of this bylaw, where my fear is that if we're now policing the community services and requiring 500-meter pickup, or or then we're going to be in a position where they're just going to close their door and there's not services provided at all. The city of Cobourg also talks about the good neighbor bylaw, which I think will hopefully achieve the same type of outcome, but not necessarily leading with the hammer right off the get-go. So I would be interested in hearing what the community has to say and how those two bylaws perhaps interact together. But I don't have the bylaw number here off the top of my head. So I would just amend to also inquire about the success of their good neighbor bylaw.
Thank you. Second by Councilor Klassen. We have amendment to the motion, including that part. Councilor Fazell.
Thank you, Mayor. With that amendment, if this passes, would that give clear direction to administration?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. We'd report back with an information report just on the feedback that was received from the town of Cobourg. Okay. And for clarity, Mayor and Council, if I may, the reference that Ms. Kellett, if you just put up to the bylaw, I believe it references a good neighbor policy. And just wanted to point that out for clarity. It's a good neighbor policy that's in Cobourg, not the bylaw, if that was the intent of council.
I stand good neighbor policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My other question was regarding this, so it's good to have that up. I was looking at the whereas clause that references subsection 151, bracket 1 of their municipal act that talks about establishing a system of licenses with respect to a business that could prohibit the carrying on or engaging the business without a license. Essentially, the regulation of businesses, and they appear to be using the business license process to regulate what might be nonprofits here. So I'll be interested to see if if our community charter gives us the same powers as Ontario's municipal act gives to their municipalities, because it's a different, slightly different model. Thanks.
Yeah, that's where our intergovernmental committee perhaps do a little bit study and formulate a advocacy piece to change ours or amend what we're facing here.
See what happens.
See what happens. I have an amendment on the floor to the motion. All in favor of the amendment? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Main motion on the floor that we request the staff to contact the Cobourg community to find out the implication of their section 6 along with the amendment just made. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Thank you. E2. NCLGA, Councilor Fazell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. In anticipation of the upcoming North Central Local Government Association Annual Convention, the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, and I want to thank the committee members, Councillor Scott, Councillor Sampson, Councillor Skaken, and all the other members who attend from time to time for putting together this palette of resolutions on behalf of the City of Prince George to bring forward to the NCLGA. Also want to thank our Intergovernmental Affairs support, the manager, Catherine Sakobi, who's on leave right now, and Annie Doran. Please pass on, Mr. Depineau, our thanks to all the work they've done in prepping this with our team at Intergovernmental Affairs. When passed tonight, these resolutions would be forwarded on to the North Central Local Government Association as policy from the City of Prince George. And when NCLGA holds their AGM in short months from now, we would be bringing these forward. Once passed at NCLGA, they would then go forward to UBCM, and with good luck and a prevailing wind, they will become policy for the province. With that in mind, I'm going to do each of these separately as recommendations. Before I go, Mr. Depineau, is there anything that needs to be added to the NCLGA resolutions?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Frizzell, I don't believe so. Each of the bodies that we're submitting these to have specific resolution requirements, and if there's any administrative errors, we'll correct those during submission, but all appears to be in order at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll move recommendation 1.
Second.
All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry.
And I'll move recommendation 2.
Second.
Second by Councilor Polillo again. All in favor? Oppose? Carry.
And resolution number 3, I move.
Second.
Second. Any debate? Hearing none. All in favor? Oppose? Carry.
And the final recommendation is just to direct staff to submit those resolutions to NCLGA before the deadline of March 13th. I so move.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. I just want to, on behalf of the rest of the councillors and the city, thank you for the work that Intergovernmental Committee have done. Just for the people know, there are 3 meetings during any given calendar: NCLGA, UBCM, as well as FCM. Perhaps the 3 most important meetings for council, for the mayor to attend. It is during those meetings we get to interact with the upper level of government to do our advocacy and get files move along. So it is important work, and NCLGA is the regional based. So we consist of 34 elected bodies, and so this is important work. Just thank you on our behalf.
Thank you, Mayor Yu, and I'll just draw your attention to what we've just passed, because what we've seen this term more than I have ever seen is that municipal issues are provincial and federal issues. Yes. And what we have here are motions about safety around BC Crown Council, about housing around the Indigenous-led Housing Alliance, and around forests. We know all these 3 are important. We know they're provincial issues. Thank you to Council for supporting this.
Thank you. With that, we move to E3, update to whistleblower policy. Mr. Babich, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, in November 2021, Council approved the city's whistleblower policy to reinforce transparency and accountability in its administrative, financial, and management practices. Staff have undertaken a review of the whistleblower policy to ensure clarity, consistency with legislation, and alignment with our current organizational structure. The proposed amendments include clarifying definitions and reporting pathways, strengthening confidentiality provisions for individuals raising concerns, and providing improved guidance on investigation procedures and protections against retaliation. Your Worship, these amendments support the city's commitment to fostering an ethical, transparent, and accountable organizational culture. As you know, Your Worship, staff originally submitted this update on the December 15th agenda, but through an inadvertent administrative error, incorrect version of the policy was attached. So staff at that time requested that the item be pulled and returned for consideration at a future council meeting. Since then, Your Worship, staff have met with both local QP union representatives to review the proposed updates and to respond to questions arising from the proposed changes. And staff are of the view that the questions and concerns have been fully addressed. So the update to the policy before you this evening is the same version that was intended to be submitted on December 15th, and it's reflected on the red line version of the policy that's also attached to the report before you this evening. With that, Your Worship, I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, staff's recommendation is that the update to the policy be approved as indicated in the staff report.
Thank you. It's a policy, it's not bylaw.
That's correct, Your Worship, a council policy.
Is there any question for staff? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Babich, not just for the updated version, but for the consultation with our unions. I think that's a really important thing. I have been on this from day one, and I really approve, and I want to move the recommendation.
Second by Councillor Polillo. Councillor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor. When I was reviewing this, I was looking for certainty that we would have really clear purpose, that the scope was clear, that we had some very defined reporting channels, that there was going to be confidentiality and anonymity protected, anti-retaliation, investigation procedures, that the roles and the responsibilities were laid out, and you've delivered on all of these together with the union, of course, and the review that was done. I'm confident this is going to be an excellent update to the whistleblower policy, and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Claassen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I hate to disagree with my council colleagues, but I'll be voting against, and I would, for reasons that this is sort of something that I've done a bit of work on, and I think council would be wise to avoid adopting a policy where someone would need to bring a whistleblower policy to the entire council. So that's an issue that I have, because I think that would be just a prohibitive barrier to overcome for anyone who is in that situation, because anytime you're making a whistleblower complaint, it's a highly stressed circumstance. And so I'll be voting against it on that basis. And I'll also be voting against it on the basis that I think we can do better. We can have, I believe it would be a better idea to have a policy where we direct anonymous or direct anyone wanting to make a whistleblower complaint to a third party outside of City Hall, because that would truly be anonymous, and it would be a better protection against retaliation and just the dangers of that. So I'll be voting against based on my understanding of what good governance is, and I think it would be better for us to not have a policy than to adopt one shaped in this manner. So thanks to staff for the work on this, but I'll be voting against. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. So I guess as a follow-up from, I think, the two concerns that Councillor Claassen had identified, I think the second part of so I guess perhaps through to Councillor Claassen, just to make sure I understand the concern, is how would the third party differ from the BC Ombudsman now? Because that does give the ability for, if somebody did have a concern or complaint about the way the city runs or report a serious wrongdoing, they can anonymously go to the BC Ombudsman, who will investigate, determine if it's worth an investigation, and then investigate. So I'm just wondering, and then at that point it's paid for by the province, not paid for by the city. So I'm just wondering how you envision it different than what currently exists.
Your Worship, may I answer?
Yes, of course.
I don't believe that the Ombudsman is normally used for a whistleblower complaint process, but if it is, I would say that it's likely quite a slow process, and the Ombudsman, I believe, just resides in the Lower Mainland, so I'm not sure that that's an ideal situation to make those complaints. Yeah, those would be my thoughts on that. And again, like I said, I'd rather have no policy than to have one that I think doesn't quite meet what I would expect from it. And the third party, having a third party that would be easily available and accessible, because the ombudsman isn't exactly accessible. And having a third party that would be easy to contact would be my ideal situation. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Clausen. Again, I've only been involved with the ombudsman from the elected side. Again, recognizing that, again, we get, I think, from what I hear, they get, relatively quick response. There's a period in which they would need to respond and covering complaints around the province, whether it's local government, school districts, regional districts. It's really about holding elected bodies to account. I opened up their website here, and there's a complete section on whistleblowing. So I would hope that is something that, of course, they take seriously. With regards to the first point around not having to present the entire whistleblower complaint to council, I believe where the only place I've seen that change would be if the complaint was around the city manager. I believe everywhere else it would not necessarily need to come to the entirety of the council. And I believe, and again, recognizing that, I believe that if this was to come forward where we had a complaint against the city manager, it would, again, I think timeline-wise, and perhaps Mr. Babich or Mr. Anderson is probably more appropriate to respond to this, would go to the mayor with a request of, we need to call a meeting of council because of the seriousness of the complaint. And again, in any of those cases where there's an alleged wrongdoing against the city manager, there's going to need to be decisions made of council as to what the next steps are, which would need to be done in a formal meeting of council. So I would understand why council then would have to be made aware of that complaint in the event of the city manager. I could actually probably make the same argument on a corporate officer because of the responsibilities that they hold on behalf of council. In this case, again, I recognize that it would just be the city manager and the financial officer, and again, assuming the mayor, because the mayor would need to be, I think, briefed that there could be a situation with a corporate officer. So I guess maybe through to Mr. Anderson, Mr. Babich, an understanding of my understanding of why it's the entirety of the council with the city manager, but perhaps clarity in terms of why council or the mayor would not be involved if it's a corporate officer beyond the city manager.
Certainly, Your Worship, through to Councillor Bennett, regarding the city manager change, Your Worship, city manager is the one employee of council. So I just wanted to confirm that administration feels it's appropriate for city council to receive those complaints. Conversely, Your Worship, the corporate officer does have independent obligations to council, but overall, the corporate officer doesn't report to council as an employee on all matters, Your Worship. So for that reason, best practices in our view is that for the initial stages of the complaint, that if there's a complaint against the corporate officer, that it be handled initially administratively, and then if it's serious and escalated, then it would be advanced to council, because under the community charter, council does have a role to play in the discipline proceedings, but not in the overall management of the employment relationship.
Thank you. And I think we've all spoken about at times concerns that this policy was outdated and that this policy needed some additional work. I think that, if we didn't approve this tonight, then we would be stuck with an outdated policy that still wouldn't meet the needs of this community. I think this, because of the ability to have, the third party with the ombudsperson, and, I believe that this is a better reflection of process to ensure that we do have the ability for staff to come forward when they do have concerns. I'll support this recommendation this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Worship. I would agree with Councillor Bennett and Councillor Frizzell. I think it's thorough. I think it's comprehensive. I think it's clear. And as regards to the third party, there is that BC ombudsperson. I think we had this discussion. Is there currently maybe just the City of Vancouver that has a third party? Just the only, the cost of implementing a third party, that would be extremely expensive, wouldn't it? And I think the only municipality that has that is the City of Vancouver. Am I correct?
I believe so, Your Worship. We've done some research on that and don't want to conflate whistleblower policies with code of conduct policies because they're separate. But as far as we're aware, City of Vancouver is the only municipality with a separate auditor general that handles complaints in this area, as well as a number of other responsibilities that I can't itemize, but our recollection is that the annual operating budget for the City of Vancouver Auditor General is north of $2 million a year.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarity. So for those reasons that I've outlined, and I do agree, having this improved policy as opposed to an outdated policy that we all felt as a council needed to be updated. Staff has done the work. Our unions have looked at it. Their questions have been clarified and their concerns have been addressed. I support it.
Thank you. Can you keep that page on the screen? I look at, thank you for all the comments. I look at the whistleblower policy slightly from different set of eyes. I think foremost, whistleblower policy is to protect the whistleblower. So normally the case is we want to prevent retaliation. We would like to see the whistleblower has a choice to have a people too, of course, within the organization to make sure their case is heard in such a non-biased way. And I think we need to do perhaps a bit of more work on this piece, just based on even the presentation in front of us. It says if a corporate officer has some wrongdoing, the journey to that must report to the city manager and the financial officer. But what about the financial officer? If that's wrongdoing, who do we report to? It's not spelled out here. But I think the implication is the financial officer is the corporate officer.
I'm also a director, Your Worship.
Correct?
I'm also a director, Your Worship.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Respectfully,
Yeah,
Your Worship, we disagree with that interpretation. The financial officer is a director of the organization, so would fall under the second part of this table, and would the report for any alleged wrongdoing would be made jointly to the city manager and the corporate officer in that instance, Your Worship.
Yeah, so it's not very, it's up to interpretation. But I think the more importantly is the removal, that the major changes from the policy previously to now is the complete removal of the role of the mayor in this particular case. The mayor, under the community charter, it is the CEO of the organization. It's a full-time staff. So therefore, I think it is a policy, it should be an employee, wherever he may be within the organization, I think he should have the right to have the mayor to hear the case. If there is a wrongdoing and involve whistleblower policy, that would be fair, because or else these what we call a one-step type of a reporting process, it really is not in the best interest of a whistleblower policy as a whole, because the purpose of a whistleblower policy, it is to prevent retaliation against an employee at any specific level. So the elected official should be the option for any employee if we decide to have an elected official to hear the case along with the director or along with the city manager. That should be the appropriate way to go. By removal of the CEO, I don't, a good policy is really written in such a way so we don't have to use it, because the people will know the policy will be exercised in the most fair way, not just to the organization, but also to the employee at any level of the organization. So I do believe the intent of this policy change, in my opinion, where I'm sitting, is not in the best interest of the city. So therefore, I will be voting against. Thank you. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Opposed on the line? Carried. Thank you. Opposed by Mayor Yu and the Council Classic. Thank you. Next, E7. E6. Capital Addition District Energy System Connection. Mr. McIntosh, would you like to introduce the report?
Thanks, Your Worship. TELUS, a private entity, is planning to connect to the city's district energy system. Under the city's district energy system model, the city owns and maintains all distribution infrastructure up to and including the energy transfer station and including portions located on private property. Although the project is funded by TELUS, it must be added to the 2026 capital plan to authorize creation of city-owned assets. This project will be fully funded by the customer with no increase to the city's 2026 capital funding requirements. Administration is seeking council approval for the addition of this project to the city's 2026 financial plan for an estimated budget of $503,580 with funding from the third party. And the city will own all infrastructure up to and including the energy transfer station. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any question? Councilor Fussell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Through to Mr. McIntosh. Well, this is great news. Having another private client on board with the district energy system is really helpful for getting more revenues in and helping to support the entire system. Looking through this, I was looking for which of the TELUS facilities it is. My hope is that it would be the big tower in downtown, but I wanted to be certain about which area it's connecting to, and that the district energy system doesn't have to be lengthened too far to service the new building. Is it the large building in downtown Prince George that's going to be connected?
That is correct.
That's excellent news. Again, congratulations on securing a client like this. It's good for TELUS, it's good for the city of Prince George, and I will be approving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Generally in favor, however, in our during budget, we are paying an amount each year for this program, and I'm wondering, so two questions, I guess. Is this going to increase the amount that we're having to pay each year for the district energy system? And I know that the argument has always been that, well, we are eligible for funding because we have this system. So I think at some point we're going to have to do a bit of reconciliation there to find out, is this actually worth it? And what are because I think last year we were putting in like around $200,000, if I'm correct. And then my other question is, and this, if Lakeland is having trouble getting and procuring the hog fuel or whatever they're burning to create this energy, like, is that a concern at some point, and what do we do then? So question through possibly to Mr. Dalio, he's looking at me, so.
Sure, I'll give it a go. So we, from an operating budget standpoint, all of our expenses are paid for by the revenues that we bring in. And the excess revenue that we bring in is transferred to the district energy reserve. My only problem there is that, in my opinion, we're not setting aside enough money for when the pipes eventually will need replacement. So theoretically, more customers on the system should help with economy of scale and getting more revenue set aside for eventual pipe replacement. As far as the hog fuel situation, we're in contact with Lakeland. If there's any issues with the long-term viability of that fuel source, then we would come back to council with information on that and potential remedies should that be the case.
Okay, so so you're not concerned about that because we're not paying to have this installed?
Correct. The whole project is funded, will be paid for by TELUS.
Okay.
So there's no cost to the city on this. It's before you as a council today because it's a capital project and there are rules around how capital comes to you. Once council has been done with their vote, if I could come in one more time, there's one suggestion I would like to make to council separate from the motion on the floor, just to, yeah, I'll get to it in that case.
All right, so am I incorrect then with I thought that there was a line item in the budget, like around 200,000 that we were paying into the system.
We used to have a $400,000 a year debt payment on the initial investment into the infrastructure. And then its final year was a half payment, so maybe 200,000 might be that last half year payment you were thinking of.
Okay, that might be. All right, okay, thanks.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship, and great news for, I think, staff and for, again, if we're at a place where we can get additional business onto the district energy system, that's just ongoing, good news story for the system, but ongoing revenue for the city. And of course, we really, to try to get to a balanced budget, we really have two ways of getting there. Either find ways to bring in more money or find ways to cut expenses. I guess my question is, if TELUS is doing this investment to get it connected to the system, is there an opportunity or a benefit to connect with landowners between TELUS and, like, along the way, to encourage them to get hooked up? Maybe it might lower what TELUS is paying a little bit, but the benefit for the city is then potentially getting additional businesses on board onto the district energy system if everyone has an opportunity to pay a little bit less because it's already getting hooked up to the TELUS building. And again, I'm thinking, in particular, there's a BC Housing building across the street there, and then businesses kind of along the way.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Bennett, it all depends on the capacity of the system. We can't overload it. So our constraints right now are our backup heating system at 2nd and George. It's rated for 5 megawatts. So we can't go above that. We do have capacity to expand that in the future, but that would involve significant investment in operational capacity, such as qualified operators. So we're kind of sticking below the 5 megawatt capacity. Subsequently, we do have another party interested in not along that servicing route, but on an existing route. So there's potential for another customer in the future.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is good news. I'm wondering about how long will this project be to hook it up? I'm assuming we're doing the work, right? Our city staff is doing the work? This third party is doing the work?
Your worship, we would hire specialized contractors to perform the works.
And what would be the timeline of the project, the actual physical work? Because I imagine there might be some delays in that area, right, while they do the connection?
Yes, from a traffic perspective, yes, but TELUS is very interested based on their existing heating system at the end of its life, so it would ideally be completed with plenty of time in 2026.
Okay. And maybe just a point on the fiber issue that was raised. We just recently signed a long-term agreement with Lakewood. I don't know if perhaps Mr. Babich wants to comment on that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we have concluded negotiations on a agreement with Lakewood. Mr. Dalio was actually more involved in that project than myself, and he may be able to provide more details, but it provides, I believe, for options for renewal as well.
I can speak to that, Your Worship, through to Councillor Palillo. In 2025, we finalized a contract with Sinclair for the energy supply agreement.
Lakeland.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah.
Which is referred to as Sinclair Group.
Yeah.
It was retroactive to 2022. It comes up for renewal in the end of 2026, but we do possess 2 renewal years for 2027 and 2028. Gave both parties a little bit of flexibility, and Sinclair or Lakeland have been excellent partners throughout the years for this energy supply agreement.
And I guess further, if all the fiber dries up, there is a backup to the system, right? Maybe just clarify that. I'm not sure if all the people know that. If we can't run it that way, there is another way we can run it.
Yes, Your Worship. Our backup boilers are run on natural gas, so we have the ability to heat all the facilities should Lakeland be down for maintenance or such.
Yeah. That does reduce the environmental impact. And maybe, I don't know if we have those numbers handy, over the life of the system, how many metric tons of carbon that we've saved? It's quite substantial. Do we have that number?
1,800 is the last number I remember reporting on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Move approval.
Second by Councilor Palillo. All in favor? Opposed? Opposed online? Carried.
Your Worship, may I make my suggestion now? This has a bit of a timing aspect to it, so TELUS's old boilers are going to be expiring and they're going to need to be switching to our new ones. We normally have a delegated authority of 5% or $100,000 to the city manager should a project go over, whichever is the lower of those 2 figures. Because this will be fully third-party funding no matter what, I was hoping that just in case we run into an overage, that more authority could be delegated to the city manager and I could just report out on it on the quarterly delegated authority report, just so that we're not waiting for council's approval on the extra spending should it actually get to that point. Again, this is our best estimate at the time. We don't expect to go over, but I do think timing will be important in this project.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. So moved, Councilor Bennett, second by Councilor Palillo.
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I'm not super clear.
Can you read a motion to the?
Oh, sure. To grant the city manager the authority to amend the budget beyond the delegated authority should the project go over budget. And then if that event does occur, I'll report it on the regular quarterly delegated authority report.
But because this project is, we do get a recovery.
Yes, yeah, it would still be the third-party funding. My intent would not be that the city manager would be able to fill the gap with city funding, just with more third-party funding.
Got it.
Yeah, that was just wanting to make the clarification that this is 100%, anything that's spent will be will be paid by TELUS.
Correct, and that's in the agreement that this project is based off of.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. E7, Hope and Healing Network Committee recommendation. Mr. Debanoff, would you like to present this?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is another recommendation from the Public Safety Committee. And so in 2025, at one of the meetings, a motion was passed recommending that Council direct administration to review the permissive tax exemption policy and provide options to implement criteria set out in the Prince George Hope and Healing Network Code of Conduct. Attached to this report is the proposed code of conduct that's mentioned. It's been brought forward by some community members that presented a delegation to the committee late last year. Administration understands that the code of conduct would be intended as an additional requirement for any eligible group seeking permissive tax exemptions. The most recent permissive tax exemption application is attached to this report as example. Please note that recipients are limited to not-for-profits who deliver services that support the city's social development priorities, and the subject property that will receive the exemption must be land or improvements owned by the group receiving that exemption. And so preliminary comment, staff have not conducted research into how many not-for-profit social service operators who own their own facilities and may be interested in seeking out a PTE are available. Presumably there would be a few, but we don't expect a high number. And so this report communicates the committee recommendation and seeks council direction on how you may wish to proceed, whether that's receiving this for information to be considered in the future at a later date, or referring it to staff to dig into this a bit further. As PTEs are not administered in my shop, others might have opening comments, but that is the start, Your Worship.
The only thing I may add from the shop that does do the permissive tax exemptions is that we've already committed to the Finance and Audit Committee to have a fresh look at our permissive tax exemption policy with the committee in May. So this, if there is any particular pieces of this that council is interested in, it can be wrapped into the work that will be performed.
But right now, you're not asking us to act upon it.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just to be a bit clear, the Public Safety Committee has recommended to Council that you direct staff to undertake such a review. And so we're bringing this to your attention on behalf of the committee, simply seeking Council direction to either engage in further work or to receive for information at this time.
That's my understanding. It's to study the implication that anybody receive a tax exemption, that they have to comply some of this, but we need to know that what's the legal implication of this. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm looking at just well, I'm not looking at them, but if you could scroll to the 10 items. Is it a simple matter of just asking staff to consider them as part of the permissive tax exemption review? Would that be all that would be required?
I think so. We could make comments on these. I would need to look more into these to be able to tell you what kind of options I could build around them, but I can at least look at all of these when I'm doing that review and see how to address what I can out of here.
All right, so what would you need in order to do that? Just a motion to refer to the permissive tax review?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would say referral to staff to be included in the permissive tax exemption review.
All right, so moved.
I'll second that.
Second by Councillor Pololo. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship, and thank you, Mr. Dalio, for the point regarding the fact that Finance and Audit has asked for kind of a comprehensive review of our permissive tax. I think this makes a lot of sense to align with there. I guess maybe through to the committee, so either any of the committee members who were here or through to Mr. Depino, is the idea here that this would only, that this code of conduct would only apply to those organizations in the downtown getting permissive tax? Or would this be a code of conduct that would need to be signed by every nonprofit that we offer permissive tax to? Because again, I I would lean personally more towards, if we're going to implement something, that then it's being implemented fairly across the board versus certain types of nonprofits. But then I guess also, so I guess that'd be question one, is just the intent of this being, I'm reading this as that this wants to be a code of conduct for social service organizations, but I think if we're going to implement a code of conduct, then it would make sense to look at all organizations. The other piece of this, through to Mr. Dalio, is does the city, under the legislation for permissive tax exemptions, have the ability to add in stipulations such as a code of conduct? And then what would be, and I guess the mechanism, because we approve, right now, we approve the permissive tax exemptions on a 4-year basis. Would the idea then be that finance and audit would get a list of organizations who are in violation of the code of conduct, and then they would make recommendations back to council whether or not to remove the permissive tax?
It's why I'm being a bit dodgy on specific answers right now and asking for the referral. I think a lot of this needs a good hard look at practicality, maybe even legality. There seems to be the idea that we would have a long-term commitment, and as you say, our current way that we do things is to have a council approve a permissive tax exemption for their term and not tie the hands of the next council if they want to have different social, cultural, or recreational goals that they would like their nonprofit organizations to fulfill. So there's some pieces in here that I think need a really hard look, and I'm afraid I won't have specific answers for you tonight.
No,
but
that's fair.
I can try and take this away and see what kind of comments I can make on them, what kind of recommendations. I'm going to assume that this is just a referral and it's not council's intent for me to exactly include all 10 of these points, for example, into a new policy, but just to provide comment on what thoughts we have and what we came across when reviewing not just our policy, but other policies in the province to see how people are doing things.
So, yeah, I think referral then would make sense, testing the basically legality and feasibility of implementing such a measure. And if possible, if we can get like I'm assuming this will also have staffing and bylaw implications. So getting an idea of what this would cost to implement would be beneficial as well.
Yeah, and again, one of those practicality questions is going to be how to police this, and how would you go about? Yeah, honestly, there's a lot to consider. So,
Mayor, if I may. Yeah, it would be, I just wanted to say, to reiterate again, that it wouldn't be my intention to have this as a separate piece necessarily. Like, it's just, there's the 10 things, and like not the document as a whole, but the 10 things, and for you to sort of look at it and see if it could serve the purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Frizzell.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. And through to administration. So first I'd heard of the Hope and Healing Network when it came in front of us. Is it an existing network? Because it reads, it says the network would generate. So does this network exist currently?
No.
The network doesn't exist. How, so it's got a proposed code of conduct and things like making sure the board is based in PG is interesting, but it might be hard for broad-based provincial organizations, and I guess that would mean that they wouldn't be eligible for being part of the network, and therefore is the suggestion that they wouldn't be eligible for exemptions as well?
I would likely focus on the community charter and about properties within the municipal boundary. I don't know if going down the path of where their board resides out of is a good idea. I would think about the real core principle of the permissive tax exemption, which is what is the use of the property within the municipal boundaries, and does it fulfill the goals, the social, cultural, and recreational goals of this council? That would be the core that I would look at.
Thanks. Another one on the code of conduct that's proposed is to invest in learning together. So I would interpret that as contributing funding towards training and having that a mandatory part of the community of practice. And therefore, if you didn't meet that part of the code of conduct, you wouldn't be a part of the community of practice and you wouldn't be eligible for exemptions. I'm just trying to understand the implications of approving that. Am I right that that would be one of the implications?
Again, this is why I'm being non-committal. I don't love the idea of a code of conduct. I would really need to have a good hard look at it and see how that fits in with a permissive tax exemption policy that you're trying to do citywide. I believe that you should be doing these policies applicable to every business the same, every nonprofit the same, sorry. And I'm not sure where this code of conduct would come in. Ultimately, you will have a policy that says this is what council wants to be able to be applicable for permissive tax exemption. I believe the policy is your code of conduct, but we can take a look at all of this. I don't want to just look at it and say, I don't know how it works, but I want time to figure out how it could work.
I think you've also answered my next question, which was who would be a part of the network? Because who would be in and who would be out? I know that's not relevant to what you're talking about. You're going to take the broader picture, but that also is unclear from the documents here, so I'd be interested in learning a bit more. Through to administration as well, does this connect to the earlier conversation about the town of Cobourg? Because with the Cobourg bylaw, they've limited the agencies to just 2 in the entire town through that bylaw. Is there a connection between the Hope and Healing Network proposal and the Cobourg bylaw? I'm just thinking that when we're looking into both things at the same time, it seems like there's a bit of overlap or there might be unintended consequences of pursuing both of these at the same time.
Your worship, through to Councillor Frizzell, I might be able to offer some opening comments, having been at the various committee meetings. I believe what delegations had presented to the committee and what the committee had heard through reporting was that there's a perception that there's a great deal of competition between different organizations, that there are silos in dealing with clientele, for instance, and that in some cases there may be interest in having a firmer regulatory role with some of the programming and services that are being offered out of the social service spaces. And so it seemed to me at the committee table that there was interest in establishing broad codes of conduct, broad good neighbor policy, however we want to refer to it, for various agencies working in the community. That's being manifested through a couple of ways. We see Cobourg specifically for emergency shelters has a tool that was reviewed earlier and referred to staff. In this case, community members identified PTEs as a possible opportunity to have a tangible piece connected to the code of conduct, but as you mentioned, it's limited very specifically to the purpose as mentioned by Director Dalio, but also those locations that own the land and improvements as well as deliver these services and so on. So maybe fairly narrow in scope. So perhaps to summarize, I think the committee is trying to establish a wide range of code of conduct to apply to the social service sector, and looking at a few different tools to maybe advance that work is my understanding of the committee recommendations.
Thank you, because the way I see it is we've got many organizations who have gone out with important goals in mind and tremendous work ethic, tremendous skill set behind them, but they're fighting for smaller and smaller amounts of dollars to accomplish bigger and bigger goals and fight bigger and bigger problems. I just want to make sure that, that with all the uncertainties that we are helping and not hurting the work that gets done. So those are my concerns as you're looking into this, that we do more to help and not to hinder. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Frizzell. Councillor Klassen.
Just very quickly, the goal is not to hinder, the goal is to help and to help everyone. And like I said before, Councillor Frizzell, you spoke, the heading of this page is not what I'm focusing on. It's the 10 ideas to be considered not as a whole code of conduct, but as part of the permissive tax exemption application. And the goal again is to help our entire community, whether people are unhoused or own businesses or run a social service agency. So that's the goal. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you for the vigorous debate among this very, very important piece of recommendation. The way I see it is we are perhaps trying to emulate the 1990s Vancouver Protocol in terms of to make sure there's the system and supporting the homeless, mental health, drug addiction. Hope that piece is more efficient, less duplication. But having said that, Councilor Frizzell brought up a really most important point. It's who is making the judgment call here. What is the code of conduct? Somebody might be doing great work in a very specific area. Yes, they might be working in silos. Some system can be working more together, to reduce bureaucracy, if you want to call it, to have more frontline troopers. It's not an easy piece, but right now we are just asked the administration to take a look at the implications of this 10-point code of conduct, how this affect the existing service providers who are applying. Some of them may apply for our tax exemptions, for example. My question is to the administration, based on the community charter, no matter what, this recommendation come about, whether they establish this committee or not, it does not stop any particular agency, a nonprofit agency, to apply for tax exemption status, would it?
Correct. Any nonprofit can apply, but there are criteria. And so we go to the community charter first, and they have their criteria that we have to follow. After that, council has a policy where they can put further criteria on there to get what they're after. So again, as Mr. Depino said, one of the criteria is simply that you must own the property that you are applying for the exemption. So a lot of nonprofits don't own their own property, so it is a bit of an exclusionary thing, but that is one of the rules.
Yeah, so again, our council might have a certain standard of a code of conduct and how we view various agencies, but next council may have a different standard, different way to interpret the services. So therefore, even with this code of conduct, a organization can still apply, and the council of the day can still grant them tax exemption if they see fit, right? Correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So with that, I think the concern that brought forward by Councilor Frizzell during the debate, I think in some way has been addressed because we're not implementing anything right this moment. We're barely to say the system itself. Can we take a look, work a little bit more efficiently, and that the people in need of help can receive them more easily, and that's the goal, right? And with that, Councilor Bennett, you want to make?
Sorry, and I think Councilor Frizzell asked this question, but then there was in your comment, Mayor, this committee doesn't exist. Is this going to be is this going to be a standalone committee, or is this? No. It was a comment you made, Mayor, that it sounds like this is actually going to be a committee of the city. Is that?
No.
Okay.
No. This now. If a council adopt the code of conduct based on the recommendation, then the council, under the recommendation from the administration, we might establish a committee to screen the application based on this set of a code of conduct to say whether the council will grant them tax exemption or not. That's how I interpret it. We don't have a committee established. We don't have nothing established. Barely, it's just right now this committee could be a committee of one, could be a committee of two. Just make this recommendation for us to explore the option further. Am I correct, Ms. Depino?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I understand the delegation that came to present referred to themselves as the Hope and Healing Network and an informal group of various interested parties. And so looking at the title of E7, Hope and Healing Network, comma or dash committee recommendation, to be very clear, this is your public safety committee you're recommending to you. In this case, the Hope and Healing Network, as I understand, is a bunch of individuals who submitted a delegation request and offered to their advice that you submit a code of conduct.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So with this debate, I think the recommendation in front of us to receive as information, and that is all we really require at this moment. We're not taking any actions.
Your worship, there's a motion on the floor to refer to staff for finance and audit.
We've got to get through this first.
There's a motion on the floor, so you need to deal with the motion on the floor first.
What's the motion on the floor? It's not to receive the information?
No, it's to refer to staff for review by finance and audit during the PTE process.
Okay, can you read back just to study the?
Yes, it's for under the permissive tax exemption review.
Yeah, to see the implications. Yeah, but I thought we should receive information first, then get to the motion. Okay, anyway, I'll deal with the motion on the floor. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Recommendation that council receive the information. Receipt. Second by Council Polillo. Receive information as presented E7. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. EA, RCMP Auxiliary Program. Mr. Debnoff, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. At the December 2025 meeting of council, it was resolved that administration return a report regarding the auxiliary RCMP program that considers submission of a formal request to join the program through the local Prince George RCMP detachment. Staff has spent time with the detachment leadership to understand their view in submitting a request, as this request needs to be submitted by the OIC. Staff are advised that E-Division is revising auxiliary training material for Tier 1 auxiliaries in British Columbia, and Tier 2 and 3 programs remain under development at this time. So no training is currently being undertaken. However, once necessary approvals are in place, it's likely that they can move forward fairly quickly. So the upshot there so far is that only the auxiliary level 1 training is under development. 2 and 3 is at some point in the future yet to be determined. Tier 1 auxiliaries perform functions such as watch programs, public education initiatives, non-enforcement support to operations, fundraising, public ceremonies, and so on. Tier 1 auxiliaries perform these activities under the general supervision of the RCMP employees and will not be given peace officer status. So Tier 1 criteria is under development. They will not be peace officers, and they need to be supervised by the RCMP is what we're advised. In our local context, those Tier 1 activities are very similar, we are led to believe, as Citizens on Patrol, which is a current program. The local detachment has indicated that they feel the COP or COP program is less burdensome than the auxiliary program due to those supervision requirements as example. And they feel that the auxiliary program is a less preferred model than sticking with COP at this time. More information on COP, the number of hours here, for instance, over the last 2 years, number of volunteers is presented. And so going forward, the RCMP is not currently considering joining the auxiliary program. And so for council to move forward, you could receive this report for information if you believe that COP is meeting those level 1 auxiliary tasks that you might like them to do. If you feel that you would like to continue to pursue an auxiliary program, perhaps it's requesting through the usual contract management channels that the detachment join the auxiliary program and indicate what level you would like to see, whether that's levels 1, 2, or 3. Or if you would benefit from having more direct communication before either directing to join or receiving for information, staff could certainly work to get you time with appropriate decision makers on that. And so this report communicates that the Prince George RCMP detachment does not intend to join the auxiliary program at this time and seeks your direction on what, if any, next steps you might like to have to establish an auxiliary program here in Prince George. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Claassen.
Thank you, Worship. Through to Mr. Depino, I think is our current officer in charge, is he quite happy with the number of volunteers or under the COP program, or is there room for more? How's that working? Can you give a high-level answer for that? Thanks.
Thank you, Worship. Through to Councillor Claassen. I think in short, we're always looking for more volunteers, and there's room on the team for folks. They seem to be happy through January reporting, annual reports, and so on with the output of the program, but certainly more volunteers always welcome.
Okay, and so because council referred the auxiliary policing for consideration and so basically what we have is the officer in charge coming back and saying, well, we could do that, but we actually have a well-functioning COP program that is already working and wouldn't need to be established from scratch. Is that sort of a
Yep.
shorthand? Okay. Yeah, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll move to move number 1, I think. What was the?
Second?
Move,
Seconder?
receive.
Second by Councilor Frizzell.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I'll
Thank
be
you.
voting to receive. Thanks.
Councilor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. And this may be a question for the superintendent, but actually, Mr. Depino or Mr. Dalio may know as well. The cost of operating auxiliary, I'm assuming, is that a municipal cost or is that borne by the RCMP?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Bennett, I'll take an initial stab. So I understand that the cost related to this program would ultimately be municipal. However, when this was originally brought forward in December, it appeared that there was some startup monies available for those that were early adopters of the relaunched auxiliary program. So my understanding is there was some financial relief for those looking to restart a program, and ultimately the costs related to administering the RCMP would fall within our municipal police contract.
Okay, I mean, the reason I'm asking is, again, if I'm looking at the document, the list of the tiers, if I'm reading this correctly, we would be paying $1,200 to $1,300 essentially for per volunteer for auxiliary just for their uniform and first aid, which those costs seem incredibly high, but I'm not part of their purchasing, but I guess, again, I can see the benefits of the auxiliary. If a superintendent believes that the COP program is meeting the needs of the community and it's coming at, I guess what's our cost for COP? Do we have a separate line for that, or what we're required to pay for Citizen on Patrol?
Thank you, Worship. Through to Councillor Bennett, I don't have a figure for what it takes to outfit a individual volunteer in the COP program. That being said, I understand it's certainly a lower level of training, and the uniform requirements and equipment and so on are significantly lower, and so it would be a less financially impactful program to run is what I could offer off the top of my head.
So through to Mr. Dalio, recognizing you may not have the answer tonight, can we get an update then as to what we may have paid in the last year to support the Citizen on Patrol program, or if that is something that is directly paid for by the RCMP?
Sure. I would need the help of the support services from police protection to do so, but yeah, we can work on that answer for you.
Okay. For that reason, again, I think for the cost right now, and if it's meeting the needs of the RCMP, then I'm good to support the recommendation, but I would hope that, if the situation changes, then we have the opportunity to revisit this with our superintendent. So thank you.
Councilor Bennett, may I suggest after, if the motion on the floor passes, that you make the second motion that asks for a report back regarding the OCP, COP expenses, then we can make a further deliberation on the later date. Okay? I have a motion on the floor to support recommendation 1. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Tim, you want to make a motion to ask the staff to bring back a report regarding the COP expenses?
Yeah, so I'll move that staff be directed to report back to council on the 2025 or 2024, if that's what is readily available, cost of municipal cost for running Citizens on Patrol.
COP program. Do we have a seconder? Second, Councilor Perillo. All in favor to receive the report? Yeah, to their staff to get the report back to us. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Thank you. Now we move to E9. Temporary using permit application TU 000109. Ms. Wasnick, would you like to introduce the report?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Your worship, the applicant would like to renew an existing temporary use permit to allow a service personal use in the form of a barber shop at 490 Lion Street. The initial temporary use permit was issued on May 8th, 2023 for 3 years. The applicant would like to operate the barber shop until the proposed temporary use permit for, the applicant would like to operate the barber shop under the proposed temporary use permit for another 3 years. Prior to the conclusion of this second temporary use permit, your worship, the applicant would be required to rezone the subject property to continue the commercial barber shop. Administration supports the renewal of the proposed temporary use permit as no major negative land use impacts have resulted from its operation to date. I'm available for any questions you have.
Thank you. So it's a 2 and 2. They already got 2, they want to extend 2 more.
Sorry, your worship, they had a 3-year temporary use permit and they want to
3.
extend for 3 more.
3 more.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Fazell.
Thank you, Mayor. You through to Ms. Wozniak. You said there have been no major land use impacts. Have there been land use impacts?
Your worship, through to Councilor Frizzell, as the report to council notes, there was I think in the earlier stages of the business operating, some parking, on-street parking matters, which have since been resolved with the landscaping in the form of planters, which Exhibit A on your screen shows you. These planters have been installed and are now preventing that traffic movement to and from Fifth Avenue to the designated access points.
Councillor Polillo and I have not noticed that, but thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Councilor Claassen.
Yes, very briefly. I turn down that street often, and those planters are there, and they feel better. Yeah.
Councilor Polillo.
I think that was a bald joke. I think that I'm getting it. Okay. Yeah, I would. I drive by that. I drive by that several times and notice that the planters are there. And actually, I know the people that live right behind it, and they have a very good relationship with the business. In fact, they frequent that business. So, and I haven't heard from any community members any objection. So, yeah, so you can only extend the temporary use permit once, right? As you mentioned, at the end of the second, they have to at some time do the rezoning process, correct?
Your worship, through to Councillor Polillo, that's correct. So after this 3 years, which would extend to 2029, prior to its expiration, a rezoning would have to be sought.
Thank you. I see no more questions. All in favor? Opposed?
Okay.
Move. Second. Yeah. 3 years. Yeah, it is 3 years. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. Thank you. E10, loan authorization, equipment financing bylaw, and approval of the electors' options. Ms. Dalio.
Thank you, Your Worship. So during the budget discussions, Council approved some projects that had a funding source identified as either MFA debt proceeds or MFA lease proceeds. And so Council has approved those projects, but because these are debt funded and the agreements are for more than 5 years, there's a pretty particular process that comes to debt funded projects. So this is kind of the second step. There are 5 bylaws in front of council today representing those projects that were selected. Because the agreements are for more than 5 years, there is also a question as to how to get elector assent. And so there are 2 different processes that can be used for that. As you'll see, this is a joint report from both myself and the corporate officer, Mr. Anderson. So I'm going to speak to the financial piece, and Mr. Anderson will come in and talk to you about your 2 elector assent options. So from the financial piece, you'll see that there's a table there summarizing the cost of the projects as well as the annual debt servicing costs. Annual debt servicing costs are approximately $2.6 million, which would result in about 1 2/3% of future tax levy increases. We internally fund projects the best that we can until we actually have the projects done, and then we only borrow what we actually need. So some of these costs will likely not happen until the projects are completed and we actually continue the debt process to its completion. So you wouldn't see these increases till 2027, 2028, or possibly even later than that. The 5 projects have some extra descriptions for you in the project if you're interested in knowing more about them. And then a general comment in the report also talks about, well, how much debt can we take on? And so this is a reminder that we do not have unlimited debt. There is a regulated amount from the province. We're well within it, but debt financing is still a very important and necessary component of how we fund our capital projects. That lets us spread the costs out over 20 years so that the people who are using it are the people who are paying for it. And also it helps, we set aside a lot of money for reserves and we use debt to fill some of the gaps, and that helps us maintain all of our infrastructure. If we only use debt as a funding source, then we would run out of that approximate principal borrowing available amount that you see there, 429 million. We have over $5 billion of assets, so if we had to only use debt, we'd run out of that money pretty quick. That being said, the MFA, as a reminder, is a very important organization in the province. It is a non-profit government organization that gives very, very affordable lending rates because it uses the collective borrowing power of the entire regional district and province and all the local governments, so we can maintain AAA ratings and the very, very affordable interest rates that come with it. Maybe I'll just kick it over now to Mr. Anderson for the elect or assent options.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the 5 bylaws are available for your review, as each is a borrowing bylaw. It requires approval of electors to adopt. That can be done through an assent voting process, also known as a referendum, or through the alternative approval process, known as the AAP. The report lays out both options for council, and council will be required to select one. High level, a referendum puts a question to a vote with majority required to pass. An AAP has electors submit a form if they are in opposition to the borrowing without first a referendum being undertaken. If more than 10% of electors submit a form, council can decide to not borrow the funds or choose to do a referendum. As past practice, we ask Elections BC for the number of electors in the City of Prince George to determine the threshold for that 10%. Elections BC puts that number at 57,667. Therefore, 10% represents 5,767 electors. Staff have recommended the AAP process due to the fact that council has approved these capital items in the budget, as well as it's more cost effective than a standalone referendum in cost, time, and staff resources being diverted. However, the decision is for council to make. If council directs a referendum be held, staff will return with a report on options and costs. If council directs an AAP, there are motions available to council. Plan is to submit these bylaws that require provincial approval with the hope that we can start the AAP process by April 28th, 2026. That will line up for a June 8th date for approval, conditional on approval through the AAP process. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. My first question is a financial one. Is it reasonable to say that we as a municipality by law or by practice maintain the borrowing capacity to approximately 100 times more than our revenue capabilities? Is that how it usually works? 221 million in revenue, controllable revenue, versus 429 million in borrowing capacity?
So that formula, it is based off of 25% of the municipality's controllable revenues. So if we had a revenue of 200 million, you would have what would be called $50 million of annual payment capacity. So the 429 million is actually the principal. Your actual payment capacity, though, is based off of 25% of your controllable revenues.
Okay. Thank you. So this is, for everybody's information. We are not able to just borrowing for the sake of borrowing. Second question is by lumping the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 project identify, and then there will be subcategory as well. For example, facility roof replacement, that is involved not just one roof, but multiple roofs. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what we call a program budget with the city.
Budget? Yeah, okay. So during the election year, we can simply put, this item, $30 million as a part of referendum. Do you agree? No, I'm not saying we're doing that. Theoretically, it's possible, right? As a referendum, that during the election, so there'll be no waste of staff time, because it will be just same time when people are going to do their ballots, would it?
Correct. We recommend AAP for kind of anything that we already own or rely on that we're reinvesting in to keep it active, or if we're rotating through our mobile equipment. So those are the kinds of projects where we will recommend AAP for you. Referendums, we tend to save for big new projects, or if a really big and important building has come to full end of life, and then we're looking at the option of rebuilding a new facility. Those would be things that we would typically save for the referendum. While you could have a referendum in a year like this because the election's coming up, the timing isn't great because a lot of these projects, you're hoping to get them on the ground and running by the spring. And so the timing doesn't work well with an October election referendum tie-in. But maybe Mr. Anderson or Mr. Babbage could comment further on that if they feel I'm off the mark.
Thank you, Your Worship. Don't disagree with anything Mr. Dalio said, just on the timing piece, because there is procurement processes connected with this. Those would be postponed until, under your theoretical, adding these to the election ballot as referendums, then it would postpone the procurement process, and by that postpone the projects, and some of them I believe are very time sensitive. We were hoping to get moving on this AAP if council approves it very quickly.
Thank you. I can see no question in terms of the necessary project that we have to do based on these 5 categories. The one is I'm just maybe try to get a little bit more technical information so the public can understand why we doing this one. It's on the books for a while. Mr. Beasley, would you like to tell us regarding the envelope, the CN Center? It involved so much money, and it's how this come about?
Thank you, Your Worship. The CN Center is a little over 30 years old now. It is in really, really good shape in the interior. We get a lot of really great feedback from all the touring acts and so on that know arenas very well. What is not in very good shape are the exterior walls, the envelope. So this project is specifically to redo all of the exterior walls in the CN Center. This is a major project. It's going to stop the water infiltration, which is getting into the walls right now, which, as everybody can imagine, in an arena and a winter climate can do devastation if we don't address this. The good news is that this is one of these major moments for this major facility where in between 25 and 50 years from now, people will be quite happy that we took these measures right now, because this will in fact extend, for example, the doors and windows throughout the entire facility for at least 25 years. And then the metal cladding that's going on the roof and the exterior walls is rated for 50 years. So 50 plus years from now, those walls will still be in good shape. It's also adding energy efficiency into the insulation, which 30 years ago was not done to the standards that we would expect it to be done nowadays. So it'll also be some energy efficiencies seen over the next 25 to 50 years for this building.
Since you mentioned energy, are we able to apply some climate change loans, grants from the federal government as a green funds towards this project?
Yes, Your Worship, this goes to what Mr. Daly was talking about in terms of using the money when and if we need it. So we will continue to be looking for those funds aggressively. The CN Center's already received a great deal of money, I think around $750,000 regarding the chiller upgrades and sorry, I can't remember, the HVAC system I think that we're doing there. But yes, the answer is we're absolutely going for grants. We don't have any on the books right now, but we'll certainly be aggressively exploring those.
Thank you. And with that assurance, can we assure the public that all this budget, we put a budget towards this capital plan, are we based on Class A, Class B, Class C estimation? Or are it's based on a very conservative estimation, but if the money is not used, be rolling back into the general reserve? Of course, we don't use it, right?
That's correct, Your Worship, yes. We're pretty confident with the estimates for this job right now, though, because of inflationary reasons and so on, it doesn't take long for the price to keep going up. But no, we are confident in the price right now.
Confidence, this is price, yeah. Okay. With that, I have no more further questions. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship. in what pattern or how are we going to be voting for all of this?
We just go one at a time. Bam, bam,
Recommendation
bam.
1, recommendation 2?
That's why it has to be done separately.
Okay, so I have a question about recommendation 1, which is, no, sorry, 2, yeah. Well, wait. Okay, wait a minute. No, the 9607, the financing bylaw 9607, yeah, that is under recommendation 1. 9607, it's the first one at the top. Yeah. That one is for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different items. I'm wondering can we split those out so that we could vote on them separately?
Readings of the bylaw have to be of the entire bylaw, so you wouldn't be able to split them out.
Okay. All right, okay.
That's for this year, right? 2026.
All right, so my other question, just a general question, what is the interest rate we're paying right now with the MFA? And what is the interest rates we are getting on our reserves? Like our money in the bank?
We haven't finished preparing the 2025 investment results report yet, but I believe the 10-year MFA rate is somewhere around 3.8%. So that would be roughly the interest rate that we're building these estimates off of.
That we're paying?
Yes.
And how much are we getting for money in the bank?
Like I said, I haven't done the 2025 investments. Those are coming to the Finance and Audit Committee in either, I believe it's June. Last year's, though, it was in excess of 4%, but I just don't know what those rates were for 2025. They were lower than last year's, though.
Okay. Okay. All right. As you know, I'm not a fan of the alternative approval process, so I'm going to be voting against all of these. But I would particularly, I think what I'd like to do is move that and see if I get a seconder on the 9609, the CN Center envelope. If we could defer that for the next council to deal with. So if I could have a seconder, that's on recommendation 8 or 7 to refer to the next council. I guess 7 and 8.
9.
7, 8, 9? Yes, okay, 7, 8, 9. So if I could have a seconder on that to refer to the next council.
Before we ask for seconder, Mr. Beasley, please give us from technical, what's the implication if this 7, 8, 9 defer one more year to the next council?
Your Worship, the best I can answer tonight, I don't think the building's going to fall apart by deferring it. The issue is well, there's a couple of issues. One, it was approved already and is on our corporate work plan. It's a major project. With the procurement process and the scale of this project, deferring it a year is actually deferring it. See, this year, if assuming this goes through smoothly, construction starts in 2027, where we actually start doing the walls, and it's a 2-year project. So this would put us back to 2028, 2029. I can hear my project delivery staff in my ear right now saying we would need to come back to council for sure, then with a new budget to revise the budget because of
So you start the
inflationary.
process all over again, kind of.
The price will almost certainly go up, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You had to start, you got number change.
So from a pure process perspective, denying or delaying 7, 8, and 9 would not kill the project necessarily if council had another funding source in mind. But the problem is the price tag associated with that particular project. Kind of only maybe the lease in, lease out legacy reserve might have money to do that. So rather, you could propose that as a different funding source than debt. But right now, Mr. Beasley's right. You have an approved capital project of that amount for that work. This is just in regards to borrowing money to do it.
Thank you. Now we got that, and since your answer to the previous question to Councilor Claassen, the MFA 3.8%, and our investment cash in the bank is approximately 4%. Isn't that, shouldn't we borrow to the borrow as much as we can and just put it in the bank account if we don't use it?
Please note that 4-point-something% was the 2024 return on investment. We've actually had lower investment returns since then, because as the prime rate drops, so does the cost of borrowing, and so does our investment returns.
So both number is,
Yeah, both numbers will kind of fluctuate together. Again, you wouldn't be able to borrow everything all of the time because you are limited by the province as to how much you can borrow.
I see.
So there's a responsibility balance, so where you're supposed to set aside money for your capital infrastructure. We do that through means like the road rehabilitation reserve and the general infrastructure reinvestment reserve. But when it comes to very large projects like this, debt is a very necessary component to how we fund things, because it spreads the money out over time. Otherwise, we would be asking for big spikes in the levy and then, big drops in the levy when we don't need it. So this is a way to smooth things out over time.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Worship. And this is actually based on, I think, the conversation Mr. Beasley was having around the CN Center. And I guess my question is, and this may be something that we have to talk about at finance and audit around fees and charges. But I'm trying to think of, like, when we have these major facilities and we talk here about the fact that these renovations are going to prolong the life of 15, 20, or in this case 25 to 50 years, depending on, like, is there a mechanism that we should be looking at where we're adding 25 cents or 50 cents as a charge to tickets or things for that venue, so that in 25 years' time, we actually have a reserve that will pay for the new windows and doors, rather than having to necessarily come back in and go through potentially another borrowing exercise and 5 or 6 councils down the road? Like, is that something that council could look at when it comes to fees and charges around some of our major facilities?
Yeah, fees and charges is the mechanism with which you recover the user fee portion of how we fund our infrastructure. What I would say is that you wouldn't be able to set aside enough money to do major reinvestment the way that you're speaking of. We have certain infrastructure that is fully tax funded, and that's when, like, everyone realizes that the whole community uses it. And then we have full user fee funded services like sewer and water, where we can actually measure the water that's coming in and out of your place and charge you exactly what you're using. And then we have blended hybrid funding, and that's the greatest example of that is your aquatics, your arenas, these recreational facilities where we partially charge the user for what it costs to run the facility, but it's a very small percentage. So, for example, maybe Mr. Beasley can help me out. What's the current admission for a pool? Probably around $7 or so. If we were to really charge exactly what it costs to do full cost recovery every time you went to the aquatic center, it would probably be a $40 to $50 entry fee. So there's a recognition there that this is a community good, but we can still sort of put some of the burden on the people who are using it the most. And so that's where the fees and charges balance is going to come in, where council can decide how much essentially the general taxpayer is subsidizing the users of those facilities. These are the most expensive facilities that we run, our aquatics and arenas. And so it's highly subsidized. So while you could charge the user an extra 50 cents or something like that, it's not going to be enough to do a $60 million project one day. The goal when you're trying to make that balance is make sure that you're setting a user fee that is not prohibitive to the people who are using it. If you cost them out, then you have nobody going. And so you have to maintain kind of a delicate balance there. I'm sorry, I answered a lot to maybe a very simple question.
I think that's helpful. I think we'll kind of set the context again when we get to fees and charges moving forward, because I think, again, we hear from the public, and again, ultimately, even adding or increasing fees to these facilities is still, in a roundabout way, still taxpayer funded. But it's how do we lessen the burden in the long term, especially when we know we have civic facilities such as pools and arenas, which, if they weren't in operation, we would hear from the community. But how do we ensure that they're still accessible, but also planning for what will be the eventual replacement of? And I think the aquatic center is another really good example where, it's now closed for an extended period, and a fairly significant cost to it, it's going to prolong the life for another 25 years, hopefully more. But how do we start thinking about, now we're going to have an aquatic center and a CN center and some really key buildings both coming up again in 25 years' time, that councils of the day are going to be having potentially very similar conversations.
And so broadly speaking, the general infrastructure reinvestment fund is how we would start setting aside money for all of those sort of vertical assets that we're talking about. It's just we're still quite a bit behind. So as you know, we have a 1% extra tax, building that reserve up to a point where it can start taking on more of these debt-funded projects without actually needing to go to debt. Again, whether or not we'll ever get it to the point where we can fund major envelope, projects regarding aquatics and arenas, I'm not sure we'll ever have a levy that high. You'll always need a little bit of debt to smooth these costs out over time.
Okay. No more question. Do we have a second for the motion on the floor? Motion died. Okay. Now we go through one at a time. Moved by Councilor Fazil. Seconder? Councilor Polillo. Recommendation number 1, first reading for PG Equipment Finance Bylaw number 9607, 2026. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Recommendation number 2.
Move 2.
Move 2, Councilor Scott, second. Second by Councilor Fazil. We go to alternative process, no referendum. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Recommendation number 3. Second by Councilor Bennett. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. R4. Second by Councilor Polillo. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Recommendation number 5. Moved by Councilor Polillo. Second by Councilor Frazell. All in favor? Oppose? Carry. Recommendation number 6. Move 6. Second by Councilor Bennett. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Recommendation number 7. CN Center building envelope. Moved by Councilor Polillo, second by Councilor Frazell. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Recommendation number 8.
Move 8.
Move 8, Councilor Scott. Second by Councilor Frazell. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. R7. 9, that's right. Second by Councilor Fazil. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Move 10. Second by Councilor Fazil. All in favor, number 10. Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. R11.
Move 11.
All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Recommendation number 13.
Move 13.
Move 13, Councilor Scott.
Sorry, we missed 12, Your Worship.
12.
Sorry, move 12.
Second by Councilor Fazil. All in favor, number 12. Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Recommendation 13.
So moved.
second Councilor Fazell. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Recommendation number 14.
Move 14.
Second Councilor Polillo. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Recommendation number 15. Second by Councilor Fazell. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. Recommendation number 16.
Move 16.
Move 16 by Councilor Polillo, second by Councilor Fazell. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Recommendation 17.
Move 17.
Move 17 by Councilor Scott, second by Councilor Fazell. All in favor?
Oh, sorry, just have a question here, Your Worship.
You got a question?
Yeah, I could have been for 16, but it fits under 17 as well. Just through to Mr. Anderson, are you able to talk a little bit about just how the public will be made aware of the process? And then I recognize, just how I guess this will be communicated out and people will know the process for completing it if they wish to vote against.
Absolutely. So the process is we publish public notice in accordance with our public notice bylaw, which is on our websites, on our Facebook page, as well as on our billboard. We have forms, sorry, lost my voice. We have forms available on the website to be printed off, and they can be submitted either through mail, email, fax, drop-off box, or drop-off at City Hall.
Excellent, thank you.
Are we on number 16? 17. You asked a question for 17 and 16, correct? Thank you. All in favor 17? Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Recommendation number 18.
So moved.
Second, Councilor Bennett. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. E11, proposed amendment 2026 council meeting calendar to add committee of the whole to discuss the, Ms. Anderson, to discuss what?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's to adding a committee of the whole to June 10th, 2026 from 2 to 4 for the purpose of reviewing unfunded capital projects referred from the January budget deliberations.
Thank you.
Move recommendation.
Second by Councilor Fazell. All in favor? Oppose? Oppose online? Carried. E12. That's mine, isn't it? Yeah, I thank you for allowing me to add a item that basically is to, we will write a letter seeking for support from other municipality regarding the ongoing petition.
Move recommendation.
Move recommendation, second by Councilor Kalasin. All in favor? Oh, you want to talk about it? Yes.
Thank you for drawing our attention to it. I just checked online, and it's at 788 signatures.
So we
right
already
now.
passed 500.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
that's good.
That's good.
So it's
more
only
support.
5 times that.
Okay. Thank you for the support. Thank you for participation. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Move F1. Do I have seconder?
Second.
Second.
Councilor Polillo. All in favor, F1. Oppose? Carried. Correspondent. Anybody want to pull anything for discussion?
G3.
G3, Councilor Polillo.
Move the recommendation to provide a support letter for the Prince George Farmers Market Association. Sorry, I should turn on my mic. City of Prince George support the Economic Infrastructure Program grant application for the NDIT Trust from the Prince George Farmers Market Association in the amount of $99,955.72 to support building improvements at their downtown market facility.
I'll
Seconder?
second that.
Second by Councilor Fazell. Discussion. Just so everybody know, I sit on the on the board of NDIT, the request is always far exceed the money we have. No guarantees, but we'll do our best. Thank you. All in favor? Oppose? Carried. Seconder? Councilor Polillo, all in favor, receive. Oppose? Carry.
Move adjournment.
Second by Councilor Claassen, all in favor. Oppose? Oppose online? Carry. Good night, Susan. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm totally opposed to adjourning.
On the dot, 9 o'clock.